Salisbury today. Dad is just over there getting set up. So, yeah. We had hoped for better weather today, but unfortunately clouds rolled in faster than we could anticipate, so we're just going to have to deal with this. That arch, that amazing chiseling. It's a sight to behold.
If you feel able, please increase.
Hello, welcome to the stream. We're just getting set up at the moment. Look at that. Beautiful. The cathedral's a bit further down there, but we're not going to go there for now. Just because they can get a bit antsy when we start putting stuff in their quote-unquote private property, which is obviously unfair, but whatever. Hello, welcome. Welcome everyone. We're just getting underway. Let's return to the site of where we are today. We decided to set up here. Hopefully this should cause us no problems, but we'll have to see. Wanna say hello to the stream?
Hey stream, I'm just getting the banners up, so I want to get that done.
No, it's pretty town. A lot of pretty towns in this area. And a lot of interesting architecture. We've been observing so much stuff that just kind of connects together, especially with the stuff we've seen in Europe and whatnot. Very interesting. Lots of low windows, misshapen doors, etc., etc. All the stuff you'd expect. We're almost done in terms of the banners. Or eye catchers, shall we say. Hello. Good afternoon. It is mild today. Much warmer than last time. Unfortunately, no chalk today. We weren't able to get some, but I'm sure this will be good enough to attract eyes. Already generating some shock and awe, I can see. It's got to be a interesting day. Hey, yeah, that's me. That's me. I'm filling in as cameraman today, for officially. About as official as you can get in this. So, I'm still new to this, but we'll see what I can do. Here comes the sun.
Get married. Will we in this film, mate? You'll be in it, mate. Oh, that's cool. Afternoon, lads.
Just a little bit of chalk. I'm low on chalk. I've got very little chalk.
Yeah. Our chalk supply is... It actually stands up pretty well, I think.
Yeah, I only got 2 little bits of yellow, I think.
Yeah. You have to choose your words wisely.
Canadians are smart, ain't
Wow, it's suddenly become a lot busier.
Do your own research. Don't trust the government.
I know it's flat, mate. You don't have to tell me.
Awesome. Well done. He knows it's flat. I don't have to tell him. Your sensor should tell you that it's flat and not moving. I might have a little bit more chalk I can use.
His work having a
Big issues, sir. Don't blame you, there's nothing in it. Afternoon, everyone. Would you like the big issue? Lucky you recording it, Dad. Can you pick that radio for me, that one? Okay. Man United, eh? Old enough for 92 class, 92, are you? That's good.
Oh, you guys, it's Sunday and it's not raining, so I'm out with Luke holding the camera today, which is just a spin-off from what we did in Froome that time. We held that video is still to be re-uploaded actually. It's quite long and it's taken us a while to go through all of the bits and pieces, but I'll probably put it up in a week. I mean in a few days. In this week.
The biggest here is the load of crap. Oh, blimey. I can see you ahead of the I'm hopeless, you know. Would you like the biggest? Again, you're following me. Have a great time. No nicking the candles at the cathedral. All right. Are you American? Me. I certainly love you, man. I'm almost from Alabama, right? Not really, it's from Cornwall, but there we go. Would you like to be ripped off, sir? Attention.
Spend too much time indoors.
Oh, you know to get outdoors more, so
Yeah, because it's water is always level, and there's no experiment that shows it this way.
no experiment.
It's not using this.
Yeah, yeah.
The
problem is people have their.
Can I charge you for that? Take 1 minute, can I charge you for it?
No. Does the council pay you for filming you 30 times when you come to town?
You don't know who these people are. They sit at these screens.
Yeah.
They could live next to you. Don't even
Yeah,
want.
I know, but it's not even it's not even real people. I'm having an interaction with a real living man, but the corporation of Salisbury, the corporation, is a dead entity.
Every time they see a bad guy, are they the real people who pick up the phone?
Bad guy. No, the people that pick up the phone are generally just doing the job they're being paid to do.
We are only obeying orders.
Obeying orders, and we
Yes.
saw a lot of that
Yes.
over the last 3 years, right?
Yeah.
People obeying orders and enforcing
Yes.
draconian orders that were beyond what any of Pol Pot or any of those dictators have done. But that's what we're in.
What it was in Eastern Germany.
Yeah.
The good times.
Yeah. Yeah. At least they weren't forced to cover their faces when they went outside. We've been made to asphyxiate ourselves and take needles and all that sort of thing by a government
You don't
that's
have
lying.
to. There's
But
no
they trick
law
people.
saying you've got to do
Yeah,
this.
there is no law. But they trick people and frighten people.
That's
And
what
this is not fair cricket, right? It's not right to
It's a
trick
bad
people and
idea
frighten them.
when you terrify people to make decisions.
But yeah, because once you're in fear, you're not going to make rational, good decisions, and a nation can go to war based on that with
All the
itself.
time I've said this. Ever since it's fucking started, I've been saying, this is a very bad idea. It determines your life.
Yeah.
So they walk around this place and they've actually got masks on. Oh, don't want I'll throw it in the bin. I'll just use this one for it.
Yeah.
Let's have a new one. And this place is coming in. Use masks, just dropped on the floor.
Yeah, but it's a sign of our fear, and a lot of things have dropped on the floor because of our fear, They've created a lot of reasons to control us and to frighten us into giving away autonomy, particularly of your body, to say, well, I'm responsible for my body and you're responsible for yours. Don't make me responsible for you.
But don't we give these people power over us to look after us?
Well,
The elected.
we don't give them power to rule over us, but by our consent they can rule over us. And so when I offer you something and you simply go along with it, you've kind of agreed to it, right? When you say no thanks, you're going
foreknowledge,
you know
what they're doing. We
but-
don't.
because they own the media, right? The system owns the media and can control the media, pull it left and right. Because there wasn't a single media outlet at the beginning of 2020 who said, let's go and look at the Office National Statistics data for the last 100 years, like I did, and look at how many people die in this country, UK,
Were
Wales.
you in Iraq by any chance?
No, I was in Angola.
So
A different war, but the same propaganda.
WMD, did you fall there?
Sorry. Oh, WMD. I did at the time.
You did.
I did at the time, but now I know that's been admitted they sexed that up. They made it Saddam's 45-minute claim to be
Let me tell
actually.
you something pretty important, because I was in Iraq,
Yeah,
and now they found it was, you got a taxi driver who worked for the government,
yeah,
and he was the guy who told them. This
Right.
taxi driver
Right.
worked for the fucking local government,
yeah,
said this is what was going on, and they believed him.
yeah. That's the story they want people to believe, that they believed a taxi driver. But if you have the intelligence services at your disposal, you've been trading with
Right.
Saddam Hussein for decades, then you know what he has, you know what he doesn't have, you know. And what Colin Powell held up at the United Nations was a photograph of a train, and he said that train was like a weapons creating train, when in fact it was the opposite. It was to clean someone from a toxic spill.
Right.
And we sold them that train.
Yeah.
And we're using that as our evidence that they have WMD. It's all a scam. The last 3 years have been a complete
So
scam.
those guys who went, it was 20 from my bomb,
Yeah.
went 20 got killed, looking for them.
Yeah, that's awful.
Yeah.
That's awful. But you see, the wars are real. I was in war in Angola in 1987.
Right.
But the propaganda was designed to get the people of South Africa prepared to send their boys off to war, just like they did in World War II, just like they did with the Pearl Harbor, just like they did with the Vietnam War, you know, the Gulf of Tonkin affair, which was admitted later on, was that the Americans attacked themselves in order to propagate the mindset in
Actually
America.
attacked themselves.
Well, what happened in September in New York 20 years ago?
Yes.
Do you remember those two buildings?
Yes.
Is that what they tell us on the TV?
No.
Exactly.
But it's-
Exactly. What did it achieve? It got people to go to war. It motivated the American beast to come up and rise up and let's go and get this guy and all of that sort of thing. And then when you look at the backstory, you realize, whoa,
It's never turned out. They haven't really got what they want, have they?
no.
No fucking revolution.
No,
gets what it
they
wants,
have
do
got what they want because they want never-ending war.
Ah.
They want destabilization because destabilization is something that you can control. Oh, we've got more of a threat now. You're going to have to take off your underwear every time you go on a plane. This is where they've got us to now, you know, body searches and all of that sort of thing. Why? Because one guy did something. Now, if you look into who that one guy is, you go, wow, how does he have connections to MI5 or the CIA? Even bin Laden was said to have deep connections with the Americans. His family were in business, or in business with the Bushes. So,
Well, see, the thing is, they're both oracle armed nations. Both Saudis and Americans like guns. They children grow up with, you know, the Iraqis do.
yeah.
You know, 11, 12
Yeah.
with a rifle.
Well, because they've got this state of war mentality, because they've always been kept in a state of war. And the best way to control a place, as I said, is to keep it in destabilized, because then you can justify limiting people's movement. You can justify expending vast amounts of money on weaponry, which who pays for? The taxpayer, but the bank man, he's the guy who on both sides is making the loans to make those weapons possible.
Well, the thing the mythology says is that Iraq is a warrior race. They've always been since the year fucking got. You know. They also owned Kuwait.
Yeah,
It was the 19th province of the Iraq.
right.
What happened was they just took it off them. You can have this.
Yeah, there's a lot of fiddling and faddling with the British Empire and, you know, the creation of Saudi, you know, bringing together these tribes under one family, you know, and you see a lot of like this where they'll divide countries up into borders because there should be no borders. Truthfully, there should be no borders because this is God's land and we should be all be able to carry it.
Sykes-Picot deal where they carved the fucking
Yeah.
Middle East
Yeah.
into fucking bits.
Yeah, and then you end up with tribes who are in the majority being ruled by tribes in the
Well, the thing
minority.
is, that's what happened because they robbed them of their tribal lands.
Yeah,
Yeah, they were dead fucking trouble, and we took them off.
Yeah.
You know, we
And then
were
you
gonna get-
and then you get me at war against you, the Irish, the Welsh, the Scots. You get me at war against you, then we will never come together again, the black man and the white man, to go, hey, we don't need to have this war. If we separated out this land of the known earth, everybody could have hundreds of acres. There is so much land. And there's so much resource that if we didn't give it to the corporations, come back to corporations, if we didn't give it to all the corporations and it was like, well, whatever profits you make have to go to the people, not the richest few at the very top, then we wouldn't be at war with each other because there would be ample resources. You could live your life happily without being...
two kinds of people. You've got the ones who say and the ones who are your friends. So you've got two kinds of people.
Yeah. But yeah, I grew up in South Africa, you know, and they gave us apartheid. And then they took it away. And you know, the system above South Africa, the same one that locked down 200 countries in 2020.
If you talk about bad boys, before that you had like Dr. Albert Schweitzer.
Schweizer.
Yes.
Sounds German.
He was a missionary that went there with the Bible.
Ah.
So we're going to give you this, and you give us the land.
Right.
That's what happened.
Yeah, well, if he's working for a religion, I suspect that there's other control involved. There, you know?
I mean, they really had the fucking land. They had the
Yeah,
Bible, you know.
religion seems to have a very murky past in terms of beating and cajoling people into taking its belief systems, and then saying, "Oh, this land is ours now."
Well,
You
the
know?
lesson that you should never get about the Bible. It confuses them. You know.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
It does. They ain't got the mentality of it to understand it.
Well, I was in South Africa for a year last year, and I did a lot of street activism with people to say, hey, listen, what you're being told to do by the government, don't follow that. It's a mandate. You don't have to follow it. It's not the law. That's what I was telling them. But I was also telling them that we are connected to God, and these folks are closer to God than the Europeans on
I'll
average.
just run them off. If you actually really think what this is going on here, it's fine. This frequency of brain that they've got, it's just to get to move on.
That's the evolution story, isn't it?
Yes. but
Well,
it's
you
part of
see,
the same thing, yeah.
I used to be a Darwinist. Now I know for sure that Darwin was part of the state 150 years ago. He was a part of another lie, just like germ theory. He was part of another lie designed for us to come to war with each other and to weaken who we truly are. I believe that the Creator created you perfect at inception, and that there is no need for this Creator to wait for
See,
evolution.
if you were stand there to you, like describe for anybody out there, you'd stand there for
But God is not out there like they tell you in the Bible. This is God. We're inside of God. I think we're in God, and I think we're a fractal of God. So you are a representative of God. That's how I see it. Not like you are the sinner or the taxpayer or whatever. You are the fractal of God, but you've been brought into a
Do you
system.
remember the Renaissance that happened in Europe?
Yeah.
The only chance that we ever had to develop, move forward from the fucking church,
Yeah.
the whole Inquisition told us, you know, you can't do it.
Yeah. Well, there is a lot of the church involvement
Close to
in.
get what we wanted in the 14th century.
Do you remember Operation Paperclip?
Yes.
Operation Paperclip brought Werner von Braun as a Nazi scientist over to America, and he started working with Jack Parsons.
Right.
Jack Parsons was a friend of Walt Disney and the scientism guy, L. Ron Hubbard. They were all friends of Anton LaVey, who was the Church of Satan. Now, these guys set up NASA.
Right.
Werner von Braun, on his tombstone, has got written Psalms 19:1. The heavens showeth God's handiwork, the firmament and all of that sort of story that comes from the Bible. So I believe that we live inside the belly of God. Let's just call it God. We live inside of it, and we cannot leave it.
Right.
But NASA and all of these guys would love to make you believe that they're flying out there and doing things in a vacuum and all of this sort of stuff. But that's all. So, like I said, the only thing that the father of rocketry who did the Apollo program could put on his tombstone was there's a roof up there.
The question is, Mike, what were Muslims before they became Muslims?
It's a fair question. What were Christians before they became Christian?
Well, they got all went down the same route, don't they?
I think there were ancient belief systems that put nature first, front and foremost, you know, and then they started worshipping deities like the sun, the moon, and Saturn, and so on. And so that's why we have Saturnalia. That's why we have Moon Day. You know, there's Sunday. You know, there was the Son of God. You know, is that that the church wants people to worship? Is this light in the sky, which is just a part of the system, rather than this is all God is in
Until we
everything.
get into space, none of these questions get answered.
Do you think that outer space is real?
Of course.
How would you know
think that thing kicks in? Looking at top and great for
Well, no, I think it's more electromagnetic, and I think that what you're seeing are discharges inside the ether. And those discharges can be the wandering stars, a permanent energy system that goes over your head every day, like Mars or Jupiter. That's what they could be. And then the others are just little lights within the firmament, and they move in like a cylindrical way. They move over us and that explains all of the movements that we see in the sky. It's just that these are lights in the roof of the stadium, if you like. Now, the outer space thing is interesting because we can show for sure that we've never been into a vacuum on Earth. With the strongest vacuum we can create on Earth is not as strong as the one that they say is out there, and yet we've never put a man in a spacesuit in the vacuum chamber. Now think about that for a moment. If you were a deep sea diver, you'd want to have that suit tested to the rating that you're going to dive, if not greater. Same is true with same with Neil Armstrong's lunar lander. They never got that thing. They never controlled it on Earth. They had got it in the sky for about 40 seconds and crashed it. And that was just the chassis, let alone all the bodywork and the radios and the batteries and all the weight that they're meant to be carrying. They couldn't control it on Earth. The International Space Station, it's up in space, but we've never seen it constructed here on Earth. But what we do see is a construction of the International Space Station in a swimming pool. You're aware of the swimming pool that they test for the spacewalks. Well, we see on spacewalks, we see bubbles leaving helmets. We see that in 2015, one of them nearly drowned. They say, oh, it's a cooling problem. No, it's because he's 40 feet underwater. And the pressure on that suit is getting great. But if he was in space, the pressure on the suit would be pulling out. And it would look he would look like a big Michelin man, rather than he's under, in the exact same, it looks exactly the same 40 feet underwater as in a vacuum.
So Hollywood rules.
It's all Hollywood, brother. It's all Hollywood. And and NASA is the biggest buyer of helium in the world. So we think they're using helium balloons to float satellites above us in the stratosphere. And they come down after a few weeks and they put them back up again. They have solar panels to keep them charged.
So if Elon Musk and his mates today, let's get together, and they built this rocket ship they're planning to do, what do you reckon?
Also, he's deep fake. He's part of the state. Elon Musk has created. Elon Musk's money is said to have come to him from the sale of a software program called PayPal.
Right.
He sells PayPal for an undisclosed sum, but it's somewhere in the region of $200 to $400 million.
Right.
$200 to $400 million wouldn't keep NASA going for a week. And for a week's budget, sir, do you think that you could rival Ford? If you had a 1 week of their running budget, they said, okay, let's see if you can get a factory up and running and churning out better cars than we can with 1 week of our budget. No, not in reality. In reality, he's just like an extension to, NASA was government. Here's this lone, star madman billionaire who's so clever, he's going to take us to Mars. Well, Werner von Braun, I mentioned just now, Paperclip, he wrote a book about it. In 1940, somewhere around there, he wrote a book about a guy called Elon taking mankind to Mars. When back then, in the 40s and 30s, people were still skeptical about these things being millions of miles away. There was a lot of debate about, no, they're close. And when you look at a star under a powerful telescope, you see that it can fill the whole screen. Now, you take that same telescope and point at something 20 miles away, even this cathedral from 30 miles away, you'd struggle to fill the screen with it. So I'm saying that the distances that these lights are much closer than we're told. They're all very local. Everything is very local. The sun travels over your head.
It can do this, and it can also do this. It's not static, this stuff.
This space around us, this can move under pressure.
It's breathing.
Yeah, it's breathing. Yeah, it's breathing, and it's self-healing. It can take care of itself, so we don't have to worry that actually the planet is going to destroy itself or we're going to destroy. That's not possible. It's like suggesting that you had a flea on your stomach and it was going to destroy you somehow. No, not possible. Mankind is inside of a living thing that can heal itself. I'm not suggesting we should ruin our bodies, the temple of God, or the greater temple of God that we're in.
You support the Star Wars, right? When they little objects are inside it.
Yeah, I haven't watched Star Wars a lot, to be honest, but
they reckon they got all these little creatures inside it.
Yeah.
You have a symbiosis.
Yeah. Well, we do actually have that. We have parasites in our body, some of which are required, some of which, when they overrun a system, can cause you to fail. Cancer and all these sort of illnesses.
If you've got this, what are you giving them for? That's what they call them.
Right.
Why is it such a fucking difficult name?
I don't know.
It's so fucking simple.
Yeah. But I want to give you a flyer, sir, because I have enjoyed the conversation.
Look, this stuff, I walk. There is no walk, it's to clear my head.
Yeah.
And what you do, you fucking just load it up again.
Sorry about that.
Most stuff I got most stuff is walking.
Yeah.
I think 2/3 I'm still fucking struggling to understand.
Yeah.
But I'll go away, take it on board and see what happens, right? And that's been believed for all my life. But I'll tell you what, which is interesting, I'm a sailor.
Oh, yeah.
In the old days, when you went to somewhere distant, like you went to Japan, you took a great circle.
That's
you
right.
didn't
That's
do
right.
that. You did.
Yeah.
In space, we're going to do something in space. Because space is right?
Chicken snapper.
Yeah.
Have a look at this map and look at your route and see how it might have figured.
If we're here,
Yeah.
we want to get
Or
straight
maybe
here.
England.
Yeah, yeah, we're there.
Yeah.
You do this.
Yeah.
You actually
And then
follow
Panama.
the
And then you come up with Panama for now.
Because this boat from Pearl Harbor in 1940
Yeah.
in Antigua. He says, we want to get to there. Which way do we go? We just go into the current, the Humboldt current. You latch onto that, we'll just let the sail. And most of the races that live around here are exactly the same as this.
Yeah. They know the currents. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this all works quite well on this flat map. This is the United Nations logo, by the way.
Is it?
And this is what pilots used to fly over. You know, all topography uses the same zero for sea level. All topography. So if you start on the east coast of England and go over to Wales,
So there are
you'll go
no
up
straight
and you'll go
lines.
down.
So in nature, there are no straight lines.
Have you heard of horizontal? Horizontal is what a seaman should know. The horizon is horizontal. It's
You
flat.
don't see it. The horizon is down there.
Ah, have you ever measured that?
Huh?
Have you ever measured
All
that?
you can measure is where the horizon goes to. Plus the tide.
Yeah.
So the tide makes it black.
Tide is side, you know, because obviously there's tide, you know, on the flat Earth or on the globe.
But that was what 20 years
But,
ago.
but we can't measure the curvature. Over 10 miles, they say it's meant to be 800 feet. Have you seen this photo yourself? Look at this. This is spherical trigonometry. Okay, and this is what they never teach you in sailing school. But if you were talking about a 50-mile trip, they claim there would be 0. How many feet? Inches? 12,000 inches of drop. And you know what? If you drop down that much to go there, you have to come back up the other side, and you never do.
Iceland is actually dumping fresh water into the ocean.
Uh-huh.
Minute by minute, day by day,
Yeah.
dumping fresh water. Because the glaciers are melting. So this fucking level is changing all the time.
Well, I want to challenge that idea because I think that's a lot of the newspapers telling us
Right.
that stuff. But when I was a kid, they told us that the El Nino or the ozone layer was going to burn through, and we were going to be. That never happened, right?
Yeah.
I went to the same beaches that I learned to. I'm 55. Last year I went to South Africa to the same beaches I learned to swim on 50 years ago,
Right.
and the sea level is the same.
Well,
So where is this rising
It's
sea
a place
level?
called the Andaman Islands. In
Yeah,
Indian Ocean.
yeah.
Not so close to that.
Yeah.
They've been overtopped high flood water regularly now
Yeah.
for the past 10 years. It's getting worse.
Well, that's not necessarily that the sea is rising, because I'm not saying that the sea will never rise. I think that the sea has risen by a mile. I think that we've got at Cromer, for example, there's a town under the sea. It's below the sea level, and at low tide you can see the roofs of that town.
Yeah.
At Cromer, they're very popular. They're very proud of that.
Right.
So we know for sure, and they say that we could walk to France once upon a time. I agree with that. There's a pyramid in Japan which is under the sea.
Right.
Have you heard of that? And I've never heard of these things, but once you start finding these things underwater, you go, wow, our sea level could have been a mile lower than it is, for example. It could have been that. And I'm not saying that that won't happen. But nothing that you and I do, flying on a plane, driving a car, having some cows, nothing that you do is going to affect that. There is this greater cyclic. We live inside of a living beast that goes through winter, spring, summer and fall. It goes through all of this. And so it's going to be in stages wetter and stages drier. And we think there might be, in the next 20 years, a major event that changes everything. I say to people that a lot of these cities that you walk around like Salisbury, they've got basements under the street level, yeah? They were never built as basements. The street level was 10 foot to 20 foot lower. And you can't just throw your rubbish out into the street and say, oh, we'll give up the ground floor. You'll clean the street. What happened is we had some kind of deluge that brought mud into our towns and has left a lot of buildings under
Well,
mud.
that's what was the Great Flood. The Great Flood was the Great Flood. It was a fucking bursting of a glacier in Turkey.
Well, okay, I mean, it could be a number of things that caused the, but we are talking about an event that ended the civilization that was here, and then over the last 200, maybe 300 years, this place has been repopulated. When we look into history with a fresh set of eyes, we realize that there's major gaps in the story going back.
We have to get to or talk to the Sumerians.
Sumerians?
Yes.
Yeah.
If we can get them to make sense.
Well, the Sumerians came up with the astrolabe, known as the world's oldest computer, believed to be 2,000 years old. Their predictions were based on a cosmology in which the Earth didn't move and the lights all moved above us. Whether it's in a circular fashion or straight lines that are bending because of convexity. That's what the Sumerians knew.
They wrote their book called The Great Book of Creation, and it was in 4-inch square tile like this, and they were found there, and they're still trying to work through. And they found that on the top corner, left-hand corner, everyone, there's an asterisk like this. You know what it means? This way up.
Right.
Yes.
See, but they were building things that we would struggle for today. These were great cultures that went away somehow. And we're given one Noah's flood in the Bible, but I think that there have been cataclysms, epoch-ending events that have either taken out an entire continent or even all of the continents simultaneously. Survivors live in pockets in the mountains and in high places, but otherwise mankind becomes smaller, and over time, whoever's taken control has made sure we become dumber.
Well, it became known as the cradle of civilization.
Where? In
In
Ethiopia?
Mesopotamia.
Ah, all right, okay, yeah.
Because the Sumerians that were working, they also created the word human. Right? They were experiencing with human beings.
Well,
the ones that they destroyed, right?
Yeah.
Trying to create more.
Let me ask this guy a question in a moment, just because I want to change it.
How are you? You right?
Good, how are you?
Yeah, what is this video for?
My YouTube channel.
Oh, right, yeah. Hello. What's your
We're
YouTube channel?
streaming live at the moment.
I've been very interested.
Trinity 4.
Trinity 4.
Have you
Okay,
looked at
cool.
the flat Earth before?
I'm going to go there.
Yeah, I've looked into this before.
Have you?
Take care, mate.
How are you getting on? Cheers, man.
Well, I don't particularly think it is flat,
Okay.
but I don't know what the point of this is.
What do you think if it's not flat? Do you still
What's the
think
point
it's
of this
a
whole
globe?
thing anyway?
Well, let me-
Like, what's
well,
the point of it being flat or
information-
not? It doesn't. What does it matter?
That's all the way at the end of the kind of discussion in a way, because it's like you first of all got to realize how you've been tricked with the globe and outer space. But let me answer that question for you, because I can.
Okay, all right, yeah.
You know that the phrase information is power, or knowledge is power.
Yes.
So if you have poor knowledge, you will therefore have poor power.
Yeah, maybe.
So, for sure. I mean, if I misled this, say I was the mayor of this town, and they didn't have communications outside of this town, I could tell them a whole lot of stuff about what's going on out there, and they would believe me, and then they would take action because I'd said, look, there's a big army coming this way. Why don't you build a big wall and give me all your money so I can buy guns? Yeah. Do you see that possibility?
There's a ship here, for example, the sail. If you see the sail,
Let me finish.
Ship.
Let me finish. I'll get to the sale. Let me finish and say to you, what's your name?
my name's Josh.
Josh, I'm Dave.
And
Let me say that the end of the line of the question, why are they lying to us, is because they never want you to know who and what you truly are. That you are the spark of the Creator. In my view, you are the spark of the Creator.
well, I don't believe everything the government say or tell me. I
Good.
don't believe
That's a good start.
But
But you just cherry pick what you want to believe.
well, like where if I see like basic science, for example, if I'm in the ocean,
Yeah.
I see that the sail of a ship
Yeah.
is disappearing over the horizon.
Yeah.
How does that happen if the Earth is flat?
Well, if you like basic science, you should take that observation, hypothesize about what's going on, and in this case, you're hypothesizing. You're hypothesizing that it's going over, but because then the next step is to measure it, Josh.
Yeah. but
Have
I
you
can
ever
see-
taken
I
that
can-
step?
I can see with my eyes that is.
Yeah. Me too. Me too. So I asked the same question.
So that proves to me that the Earth has a spherical shape. I'm not sure whether that means it's that like this, or
Okay.
or where does it end? The flat Earth. Where does that end?
Well, let's get to the
How
spherical.
can things work? Like,
Let's try and deal with the one thing at a time. So the ship going over can be explained by perspective.
yeah,
Okay, so the lower you are on the water, the quicker the ship will go away. The higher you go up the mountain or up a 10-story building, the further you'll be able to see that ship fall.
yeah.
So we can't. So that's perspective. The other part that people claim is that I've seen the bottom leave first, which proves that it's going over the hill. So.
Yeah.
So if that be the case, then when I change my angular resolution,
Yeah.
and my angle is looking down higher, then I don't lose the bottom. You can do the same example on a straight tennis court, a flat tennis court, or a bowling green, as I've done before. So you put your head on the floor and watch the ball go away, or someone walk away from you. You lose their ankles first, and then you lose their knees. And the same with the city here. You know, as you're approaching back to Salisbury, you'll see the spire first.
Yeah.
Why? Because that's like the crow's nest. It's the tallest thing. So the tallest thing you'll see first and can see further.
Yeah.
So we can debunk that one really easily, because I've been in a plane at 30,000 feet and looked over the Mediterranean and just seen like ships on a lake.
Yeah, that's
Flat.
probably not high enough to see the sphere of the Earth.
Yeah, well,
It has to be a lot higher than
Yeah,
that.
so Neil deGrasse
I
Tyson
think
claimed,
actually the Concorde went a little bit higher, and
Yeah.
that was able you able to see the sphere of the Earth
Yeah.
slightly with the Concorde.
yeah, that's what people say, but there's lots of pilots on YouTube saying
flown on it, so
there's no curvature. We don't allow for curvature. And if we did, think about this, if you lived on a sphere, right, and you say we're on the top, and you went to Africa, you know, you've gone a quarter of the way to South Africa, you've gone a quarter of the way around this globe, so
Yeah.
now your perpendicular has changed from here to
Yeah,
here.
we have gravity. In
Wait. I know, but you can't say gravity is the dropping of the
Gravity
pencil.
draws everything to where it is, so it can't like not land, or like planes. You know, like planes, they can't like not land because it's round. There's gravity, and there's an ozone layer and a thermosphere.
Okay,
all
so
these
because
things.
my pencil falls to the floor, a plane is going to fly like this and think that it's still the right way, and then like this underneath Australia. You know,
No,
they've never
there's
shown
gravity.
us
There's
that.
gravity. There's something called gravity.
You know, you're
When the
repeating a
Earth is spinning.
theoretical idea, right? now.
Gravity's real. If I jump up and down, you fall down, don't we?
That's your density.
That's gravity.
If this was water,
It's
if this was water, you can call it. Okay, I don't mind you calling
Gravity's
it water.
a force.
No, I don't mind you calling it gravity.
Drop that stone, for example.
I
and
understand
you'll see
that.
force will, what's doing that?
What gave it force?
So you don't, now you don't believe in gravity.
There's no
either.
mechanism
Hold
for
on.
any of this.
What? Answer my question. What gave it force?
Morning models
Gravity.
actually make
No,
sense.
no.
Atoms.
No.
Atoms draw into each other. That's
No.
kind of
Now,
what does
for
that.
this to
Yeah.
fall,
Yeah.
I have to pick it up. So I'm imparting
Yeah.
energy into it. The higher I take this,
Yeah.
the more energy
You can
I'm
pick
imparting.
it. You can
Yes?
pick it
That's
up. Yeah.
because
So it has
gravity
weight.
by itself is strange. It's supposedly weak on a local
So I don't want to argue with your belief. This is a theory. Gravity is a theory.
physics
But,
guys are
but
not
let's
believing
just say that we'll accept it as gravity. But to then say now, because I've got this falling motion here, when someone's standing on a marble that's really massive, they will just fall into that marble. That's a very different thing.
But let's put it this way: on the moon, the things are floating.
What? Things are floating.
Like, so for example, like this gravity is lower on the
Okay,
moon.
so you said at the beginning, Josh, that you like science. So science should be tested.
Yes,
You and I
yes,
should be able
yeah.
to, if you're making a
Yeah.
claim
They've
about the
done
moon
tests
that
of
neither
gravity
you or
and
I are
gravity.
ever going to be able to
The
test,
theory of theory of gravity hasn't been tested for centuries because it's just true.
you just
people
believe
try
it
to
because you were
test
told
that
it in
idea.
school?
I've got a theory.
No,
believe that you
no,
live
I
on
could
a-
have been told that
you live
Muhammad
on a
is
spinning
God,
ball
for
because you
example.
were
I
told
don't
in
believe that
school.
Muhammad is God. You know, I don't believe everything that comes
Good,
up.
good.
I believe things because they have.
But you're
something
cherry
science called-
picking what you're willing to believe. You see,
Well,
some
that-
people would
that's
say
true.
Muhammad
I'm
is
not going to
real.
start saying
Is
I
real.
need to
It's a question
believe
of what can be
this.
proven.
But I
Okay.
can't believe in gravity. I don't believe in gravity. Gravity is a demonstrable fact.
Exactly.
No, it's buoyancy and density. So
got
just tell me,
to do with those things.
tell me,
It
tell
has to do
me,
with
tell me.
maths.
Okay, so tell me what happens. I take a 5 gram object. I take a 5 gram object and I fill it with helium. It's a helium balloon, and I let it go. What's going to happen?
It'll float up in the air.
It'll float up. Where's gravity?
Well, that's different.
Why is it different?
Helium's a gas, for example, isn't
Yes.
it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Helium is the
Yeah,
second
so,
most
but
element
But
in
why
gases
isn't-
float because they're not weighty enough, for example.
And
Like, they're not
let's
really,
put it this way.
So this is
like,
buoyancy and density. You're describing
Let's put it
buoyancy
this
and
way.
That's
density.
what, like, the
If
gas
the
will
Earth was
force
actually
against
10
gravity,
times
like
bigger
in
than
a
it is
balloon.
now,
But if
when
if
it
you
was
drop a
massive,
balloon
yeah,
and it's not
it would
inflated,
sink.
it will fall to the floor, right?
So if you made the balloon heavier, then the surrounding environment, yes, it would fall. But if say I put a football onto that and it fell to the floor, it would stop there, and it would also stop on a body of
There's
water.
no reason.
I'd have
There would be
to.
no hydrogen or
I'd have to
helium
push it down.
contributor, which is much bigger and much more massive than the Earth.
Let me ask you a couple of questions about the belief that you have.
It's not a
What
belief,
is
it's
the
not- it's not
okay?
fact.
Okay, well, you can both answer then. What is the circumference of the globe?
Roughly about 40,000 kilometers.
All right,
Do you
who's got
really
that?
believe
No, I don't believe. I know that water is
Oh, it's
level.
bollocks.
No,
That's the
but do you
belief in
believe,
gravity.
yeah.
Let's see through
I
a
don't
drift
believe
into
it. I
this.
know the Earth is.
So how does
I know.
France...
Oh, you know,
that's-
okay, so you
I
really
know that.
genuinely believe this?
No, I don't believe it. It's the belief is in gravity and that people could walk
It's
underneath
either
a
a
stone
drift
and they can float
or
in
it's a
space.
delusion.
Those are the
Do you
beliefs.
believe? Yeah.
And I don't think it's an
I know the
information.
Earth is not moving. I know the Earth is not moving. It's the sky that's moving. So I want to ask you a
It's not
question.
the sky. That'd be ridiculous.
So what speed are we traveling at? What speed is the
But whether
Earth
it's the sky
rotating at?
moving or the Earth moving, it doesn't really
It's
matter.
It makes a big
The
difference.
flat
If it's
Earth
the sky.
actually teaches that it spins flat, doesn't it?
No. See, you don't even know what we're
How
saying.
can gravity work if the Earth doesn't spin?
You don't need gravity.
You know
You're
what
in.
G-force is?
Imagine
Do
you're
you
in
know
a
what G-force is?
you're in a swimming pool.
What do you
You
think
know what
causes
G-force
gravity?
is?
Now I'm asking the question. So the
You're
question
on a
is,
roller coaster.
how fast are we
Yeah,
spinning?
You go fast.
How-
on a roller coaster.
I
At the
understand
equator,
G-force.
pulls you back.
the
I
Earth is
understand.
turning at roughly about 1,000 kilometers an hour.
1,000
That's quite
miles
uncommon.
an hour.
Okay,
1,000 miles an hour.
slowing
So
down as
roughly
At
about
the equator.
50%.
At the equator.
Yes. And
And
about how
at the
about here?
poles, at practically zero.
And how about here? What about here in England?
In England, if you look at the latitudes, you're probably getting on about maybe 400 to 500 miles an hour.
I would say a lot more at the latitudes, but let's not argue over that. How fast is the atmosphere moving?
The atmosphere moves with the globe.
How does the atmosphere get dragged with the globe? Because in physics, when
no,
we drag
no,
the atmosphere, it
no,
gets left
listen,
behind the
can you
moving
just,
object.
Can you just listen?
Does the train, when it goes through the air, take all the air with it, or does the air get left behind? And does the train steam stack when the steam stack is rising? Does it
mistaking
fly
two completely
behind,
different
or
physics
does it move
principles.
along in a track with
Okay.
the, with the train?
Can you just stop yelling and let me answer a question?
Let me get some water.
Okay?
All right.
If I'm allowed to speak, I will speak. What mass and energy does is it basically comes together. That's what causes
Are you a
stars.
science teacher?
No, I'm a physics graduate, actually. And I'm also a commercial pilot. So,
So,
this is bollocks.
so you understand what a gyroscope is?
Of course I understand what gyroscope
So
is.
do you know that the mechanical gyroscope has been around since the beginning of aviation? And that makes no allowance for gravity. What it does is it shows you your level, and you will keep that level.
That
Can I
is-
just
How
ask
does
you
it?
something?
Because
That is-
how does a plane
Okay,
or a
well,
ship
stop
come back
with
up
that.
the globe? How does a plane or a ship, let me ask the questions of your belief system. How does a plane or a ship come up the globe? If we're going from England to France, we're going down apparently, according to what you said, Josh. But so we coming back up from France? Or when you stand in France, it looks like the guy's going down
No,
again?
there's gravity.
Could it be your eyes playing a trick on you?
No, it's
Could
gravity.
it be?
It's gravity.
It's gravity?
Gravity
Okay.
is very important.
Let's get back to Isaac Newton.
Gravity,
That's
you
very,
cannot
very
prove
famous.
that something will, a river
In
will
the
run uphill.
16th century, Isaac
call it-
Newton made this very clear point that the velocity of something in a straight line, far enough, eventually you go all the way around and the Earth will fall away from it. Now that is a demonstration of being able to basically
Earth is flat,
work
ladies.
out the
We've been lied to about where we are.
basically
Carry on.
concept of gravity, more or less.
NASA
That's
is
how things
designed to
settle.
fake your mind. It's all Disney. It's all CGI. It's
So
all
you're
music.
telling me that millions of people over the last century have been lying through the media? And you're telling me that?
No, depends on who you mean. Specifically, who do you mean?
Like all this nonsense about NASA and the Russian Space Agency being liars.
Oh, absolutely. They're all in bed together.
Oh, don't be ridiculous.
Do you know that when they do the spacewalk,
Okay, when it
they've
comes to
never
human-
taken the
no,
suit
no,
and put it into a vacuum chamber?
No,
Doesn't that bother
no,
you?
that's not how it works.
They've never.
No.
What, you don't have to test the spacesuit in a vacuum before you go into the great vacuum. of
That's
space?
got nothing to do with whether the Earth is round or flat.
No, well, when you're starting to look at the if you're
far
trying to understand
more
how a
important
magician...
matters to worry
Well,
about.
well, according to who?
Whether the world is
No, I don't want. I don't
How
want
ridiculous
liars
can you be?
wasting people's time.
Ah, Pol Pot, I shall listen to you in future. Yes, no,
I don't want liars and
No,
grifters
no,
like
because-
you wasting people's
let me
time.
tell you
You're
for
a liar.
sure
And you don't
that
understand
if I was
science.
trying to explain how the magician
No,
saw
you're
the
a
lady
liar
in half,
and you do not
and you
understand
don't
this
want to hear
That is
the
all there
way
is
it's
to
done.
it.
Hello, ma'am.
You are a liar.
Not a.
You are a liar.
You
and
don't
you should
like
take
your
this crap
religion
down
being
and get rid of it.
You are having your religion impugned, sir. So
I
this
am
is
an
why
atheist, you
are-
stupid fool. This is what it comes down
but
to.
I know that
Now
it's a
you
belief
believe that Big Sky Daddy makes the world flat plate. What a load of crap.
The last book I read was by Christopher Hitchens called God is Not Good or something.
You
along
are
those lines.
either lying or you're delusional. Probably both.
Show me water that curves like this. And show me a single science experiment we can do that proves with spinning. This 1,000 miles an hour you claim.
Well, the spinning is important
Faster
to
than the
gravity.
speed of
That's
sound.
what causes gravity.
But we haven't proven the spin. There's no scientific experiment.
Okay.
Just-
Whether this is spin or not is irrelevant. This is whether flipping this plate or a ball.
It's
If I
irrelevant
drop this
because
bag,
you guys
if I
had
drop
your
this
minds
bag, that is
controlled.
proof that gravity exists because the bag drops
And what do you
to the floor.
call the
And you
force that
use false
lifted it up?
equivalence and lies
And anti-gravity.
to try and fool people.
The fooling has been done when you were a child, sir. And this is
You are a fool and a liar.
As you can see,
You're a liar,
it's not-
and you're here to spread this nonsense. And I don't like it. I want to stand for it.
You trust NASA?
No question for my trust.
You
Until I
trust
know
your
it's a liar,
government?
and you are a liar.
Did you wear the mask all the way through the lockdowns? Did you adhere to all of that?
That's got nothing to do with this
It's got
bullshit that
everything
you're
to do
trying to
with this,
propagate.
because we are being lied to, people. We are being lied to by the people that you trust, whether it be in religion or whether it be in government. We are being lied to. Your parents were lied to. If you think you know the truth of who you are and what you are, it's simply because NASA and Disney and the New World Order that can lock you down in 5 days. They can lock you down and force your children to suffocate themselves behind masks. This is what you people are putting up with because you cannot handle the truth that you have been lied to. You have been lied to by your government. You have been lied to by your rulers because you have given away your sovereignty. You have given away your divinity. Because you truly are the spark of the Creator, but like this man, you prefer to think that your grandparents were monkeys. You prefer to think that a Big Bang was set off, apes turned from fish, and here we are, the living proof of evolution. Look at this, the height of the Creator's creation, who believes they are monkeys, who prefers the idea that you evolved from an ape. That's why you love to go to war, because you are simple apes who think you live on a spinning rock. Rocks don't float, people. Rocks don't float, and gas giants don't coalesce. Every time you let a fart go, does it coalesce like a baseball? Or does it spread like the laws of thermodynamics demand? There must be a roof here. We are enclosed, and NASA and Elon Musk, SpaceX, is all designed to keep you in a child state. In a child state of mind, such that you will never awaken, such that you will raise your child. Fill me, man. Don't spear me. I'm telling God's truth to you. Raise the child as the divine spark that was intended. Do not stick needles into your child. Do not suffocate your children. Do not send them into the indoctrination camp where they will be made to be little sausages to work for the corporation, to pay all the taxes, to waste away their lives as servants of this state. This state is in disease, and the people are in disease. Your fear of germs is unfounded.
Excuse me. Look, I know you're doing a good thing.
Thank you.
But I'm trying to sell my books, brother. I'm
Well, I
homeless.
think I might be helping you.
You're not. I'm homeless and you're scaring everybody off.
I'm homeless too, but I'll speak when I want to speak.
Yeah, I understand that, but you can see where I'm coming from, yeah?
No.
You're a great lad, you. I like you. Respect all the way to the people, eh? Oh, I don't know. Some people, eh? Careful, folks.
Wake up, people! Earth is flat, not a spinning ball. Do you believe the Disney propaganda? The NASA propaganda? The Darwinian I come from an ape propaganda? That's not creation. If you've got a religion and you believe you come from apes, you demean the God you say you love. Because there is no evolution that brings this beautiful creation to being, but an intended
intentional consciousness. And that consciousness resides in each of us, but that spark, that light, is exterminated or extinguished by a system that will shove you with poisons, needle you all your life, suffocate you, and force you to stay at home. You are not free. You are not free when you are forced to stay at home. You want to be locked down, people? You carry on being the compliant sheep. But you're seeing the truth come out. People are being injured. Serious numbers of people are being injured by taking the needle. Why? Because of fear. They use fear to control you so that you will never know who and what you truly are, to keep you divided, so that we never come together as one creation. Do not trust the system no more. Okay. Well, that was called for. That was called for. I'm in Salisbury and it's pretty quiet here. You know, numbers of footfall and so on. I'm low on shore. This has caught some people's attention. Those guys annoyed me, so I had to let go. Pardon me. That's how it happens. Excuse me while I ride on the short floor here. Those guys were pretty annoying. Those guys were pretty annoying. So, how are you guys? Thanks, Brian. Yeah, that was a little annoying actually. I'll be honest with you. They can't. It was like, you guys are not going to let me talk, and then the guy's calling me a liar. And you can stand, oh, I don't like this. Luke was holding the phone now. Come on. Look on. Nice to see you running out. So, how are you guys?
Guys, sorry to bother you. I appreciate what you're doing. But I've had the owner of this property say that you've attacked something there on their property. Can I ask you to take it down for me? I don't mind you demonstrating, you do what you've got to do. Yeah. But can I ask you to take it down from the premises, because that's a private premises?
You can ask, but they'll need to come and ask me.
Well, I'm asking you as a manager for this site, because that's one of my properties as well. So I'm asking you nicely.
Can you show me your credentials?
There you go. And you're not going to take recording. It says that clearly on there at the bottom.
No, that's not Coyle.
Doyle.
That's not your name. That's your servant name.
No, it's not. Look, can I just...
What's your first name?
Can I ask you nicely?
What's your first name? No, I want to know. I want to speak to the owner.
I was friendly with
You know what?
this
Because
guy,
I think it's these clowns over here that have been on your case.
I was absolutely friendly with him, but he started getting angry about the idea.
No,
this about gravity.
This man over here is
says
calling me a
gravity
liar,
doesn't
so
exist.
that's what you get.
Truth
For
is,
calling me a liar. The
Well,
truth
this is
hurts.
a lie.
This is hurting you because the truth is that we cannot prove we live on a globe. You have to rely on NASA.
At the end of the day,
You have to
I
rely on
understand
higher
this is
authorities.
listen, he's entitled to his and you're entitled to your beliefs. If he wants to say what he wants to believe, that's entirely up to
That's
him.
right.
You cannot stop his beliefs.
No,
Like
we're
you
allowed
can't
to-
stop your beliefs.
I'm not stopping no one.
All right, so you're allowed your point of view and he's allowed.
Yeah. So this man standing in front of me, calling me a liar. This man calling me a liar. You go and stand in a preacher on a Sunday. Why don't you go and stand in the cathedral and tell them as an atheist that they're lying? Why don't you do that? Yes, you have. Of course you have. Let me tell you that I'm allowed to speak my words, and you may not like it. You may not like it, but the truth is that you cannot prove. I tried to. Believe me, I was an atheist who believed in evolution too. Right? So I couldn't prove that. I know that. I'm telling you. Well, I'm telling you now that you're caught in a mind trap.
At the end of the day,
It's a
it
belief
makes
system.
no difference to me
It's
what
a
you do or
belief
you don't
system that
believe.
we live on a globe. You can't believe it. I mean, you can't prove it. You can't prove it. Folks, we don't live on a splitting ball. The coffee in your cup will stay level and horizontal to every other glass in your family's hand there.
It's only when you tip it high enough it'll come out of the glass. Same is true with the water on our Earth. It's got to be contained. The water on Earth must be contained. This is what they're convention. And they're trying to blag me out of here. So that's what you get. It's part of the territory. But yeah, I was hoping Salisbury would be a little busier today. The weather, it's not as sunny as I'd hoped. Still haven't got those windscreen wipers cleans fixed. But we have a solution that hopefully shouldn't cost too much money. I'm not feeling like I'm going to be handing out many of my flyers today, but Earth is not a spinning globe. Earth is flat. Earth is not a spinning ball like you've been indoctrinated to believe. We can't prove that we live on a rock that spins in space. Outer space is a vacuum, and we cannot go in a vacuum. We cannot go in a vacuum. That ball, when forced underwater, will try and get equilibrium. It'll go back to the top. That's why, because of density and buoyancy, not gravity. Gravity is a hoax. Gravity is an idea that makes you believe you can live on the underside of a spinning rock. The guy's still demonstrating gravity, I think, to his friends. Yeah. I think, actually, you know what, Andrea said to me about the energy today as well. The stars and whatnot are also...
If the world's flat, can I have a flat?
Yeah, man.
I'm homeless, ain't I?
If the world's flat, why do we play football on a ball?
Exactly, mate. Do you know what I mean? Soft as cacao, isn't it? Winston Churchill said the world was flat, wasn't it?
I've never heard that one.
Yeah, no, seriously, mate. Jesus came along and said it was flat, yeah.
Yeah, well, the Bible is all full of flat earth references.
Donald Trump said the same, didn't he?
I never heard that, but I heard Buzz Aldrin say we never went to the moon.
Exactly. No, we never. It was done in Las Vegas.
Yeah, you know.
It was on a croupier table with the roulette all around it.
Right.
If you look at the actual thing of it, one small step for man, it's got number 32 and 0 next to it.
Wow. Yeah, sound studio, that's what they use. NASA have the biggest sound studio in the world.
Crazy world, isn't it?
Yeah. Earth is flat, not a spinning rock. You can't walk underneath a spinning rock. You can't even walk under a rock upside down. You'd fall off. Earth is not a spinning stone. We do not live on a spinning stone. We don't evolve from monkeys. We are created perfect, intentionally, and we live inside a protective dome, a little bit like the Truman Show. We live inside the Truman Show. We do not live on the outside of a spinning rock. Monkeys don't evolve.
T-R-I-N-T-Y, yeah?
Yeah.
Trinity 4?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Trinity
I just want to have a look it up. So it's like that, is it?
Yeah, you want to troll me, do you?
No, I'm not
upset
interested
you
in
are.
trolling. I'm just interested in looking at my live video. That's why.
Oh, well, there you go.
No, I don't need to troll you, but you know, I wanted to have. I don't troll people online.
Yeah. Well, you know, I'm allowed to film in public, right? You know
Yeah.
that.
But what is the
Only, like,
what is it
wasting
called?
our
Sorry.
time.
Yeah. What's the channel called? Sorry, I'll be off in a minute.
Trinity 4.
Trinity, and then is it
Trinity
4 like that?
Like the number 4, yeah. Trinity 4 man.
So FOUR or just 4?
No,
like the number.
Yeah.
Number.
Earth is flat, not a spinning globe. You've been lied to about where you live.
It's 2. It's the 150 or
No,
3.
it'd be one of these.
One of these ones.
Yeah.
So is that it then? Is it? Do you do stuff about Jews?
Oh, that could be me in Speaker's Corner. Oh, no, when a Jew rejects Trinity.
Yeah.
But I know
so
some
which
of those
one's
people
yours?
from
Sorry, what
Speaker's
is your
Corner.
channel? Is that your
No.
Trinity
Why
4?
can't you find it? See, I get
That's what I was
shadowbanned
trying to say, I
because the
couldn't-
government doesn't want you knowing the stuff that I'm saying.
Well,
this is my second YouTube channel because good followers, believers in their government, have tittle-tattled on me because I speak my truth.
Okay. All right.
Tell me, Josh, before you go away,
Yeah.
did you follow all the rules and mandates for the last 3 years?
No.
Good.
Yeah, I didn't.
You should be dead by now, according to the media.
Well,
If you didn't follow all the face
I did
snapping-
get vaccinated. That's about it.
You what?
I got vaccinated. That's about it. I was conscious about getting vaccinated, but I did.
How many times?
No, it's okay.
How many times?
About 2 or 3.
Wow.
And the second one was better than the first one. The Pfizer one actually I had problems with.
Yeah, what, health problem?
Yeah. A little bit, yeah. My hands started seizing up and all that stuff.
No way.
Yeah. Sorry, your channel's on there, isn't it, live?
Yeah.
So have a look at the screen so they can see your channel.
You can't see. No. But here's the thing.
Is that
like-
Facebook Live? Or was that?
No, YouTube.
Okay, we can't find it. Can you?
It's weird.
Can you not?
Remember that? Go look on your computer, you'll find it. But
Okay.
here's the thing, Josh.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
recommend what you do there. with the
Recommend
needles.
what I do.
I
What
don't.
about what?
You see how many
Let
people
me
I
wrong.
know I've spoken to in the street who's walked up to me and said, I know someone personally in my family, or someone just down the road from here, has recently been severely sickened or died suddenly.
No, I understand about that sort of stuff.
And in
Yeah.
my 55 years of life, I have not seen this level of
I wasn't wearing masks.
strangeness.
Oh, it's all strange, yeah.
Yeah.
To be honest,
So-
I'm not
so
saying
no,
that you're all wrong.
so-
like, you're
so
probably,
I used to work for the
believe you more on the
government.
COVID thing than you have been
I used,
flat.
well,
That's
I used
fair
to work
enough.
for the government when I was a believer in all of this.
Yeah.
And I used to go and do data. That was one of my things. I went and got the ONS.
Yeah.
Do you know what the ONS is? Office National Statistics.
Yeah, I've heard of it,
I
yeah.
went and pulled their 100 years of data for deaths in England and Wales. And guess
Oh, it's
what?
probably a lot, yeah.
Guess what? I couldn't find pandemic anywhere in 2020. But I swear to you, it's going to come because people are doing stupid things with their natural health.
Yeah, people are, yeah. That is true. I agree with you on that, yeah.
And I am vexated because I feel I need to come out and warn people. Isn't that what we're meant to do? Is
Well,
like,
vaccine can be
call up.
beneficial, but I think the COVID one was a little different. It was a little bit rushed.
They're right. It's probably
Yeah.
the best you could say about it, to be honest.
But
with you, mate.
vaccines have saved a lot of lives, I would say.
All
as
right. Well, we won't argue with this on YouTube because they
Yeah.
don't allow me to talk about this. Censorship is
Okay.
part of the way that
That's
the world
probably
works.
true,
This is
right.
how you work. Is that I get
All right,
censored
okay.
because you don't like to hear
Okay,
what
yeah,
I'm
all
telling you. I'm not talking to
It's
you,
not
Josh.
saying
I'm
that we
talking to
don't
him.
like, yeah, well,
No, I don't like lies.
I'm talking to him.
I don't like
I don't
falsehoods.
lies either, and
No,
I
you're
think
a
that
liar.
I think that
You are
I think
putting
that we are
falsehoods
being
out
lied
there.
to from cradle to grave.
This is a lie.
Which part of it?
Most of it.
All right.
Because you're
So-
misrepresenting science.
So,
You know what?
so can you be specific? Because you can't just say this is all lie. There's a lot of information here. So tell me which bit of it that you're challenging.
This is a lie.
What's that?
Calling NASA lies.
So that's where we got
No,
to. Yeah, it's
no,
like me calling
you
the
said
Catholic.
you want
it's
you
me
wanted
calling the Vatican.
you
out.
want us shut up.
Yeah.
You want us
Yeah,
something specific.
Yeah, no, you don't get to
You
tell
want
me
us
to
something
shut up,
specific.
son. Let me tell you, this
But
is
I only
their,
just- I only
this
got
is,
started.
This is their CGI, by the way.
I only got. You won't even let me finish.
You're getting
I said-
angry again. Please don't.
well, you were getting angry as
Please
well,
don't.
so you're not exactly...
You're calling them
I'm not,
liars.
I'm not calling people liars.
This is about survey lines over land. There's nothing to do with GPS. This
Okay, wait, one at a
This-
time, one at a
this-
time, fella. One at a
this
time.
is the only
One at a
accurate
time.
piece of information here. Because this is from a debunked fool. This has been debunked. That's been debunked.
Wow.
And
So
it's
Airy, by the way, George Airy, who he's referring to, was the Queen's.
Let's not shout, let's
Yeah.
not shout, 'cause that's not good. is it?
George Airy, well, I could tell.
George Airy, I know who he was. He was a fool. He was a religious fanatic that he wanted to prove something and misrepresented the information to twist it.
Sounds fanatical a little bit coming from you. What's your name?
No, my name is not important.
Okay.
My name is not important.
Let me tell you who George Airy was. He was the astronomer royal.
You
He was
are
the
lying.
one picked out by the Queen to be his astronomer. So this is a guy. He comes up with this experiment. He says, "I'm going to fill a telescope with water
I know exactly what
to
his
establish
experiment
whether or
was.
not it's the Earth that's moving or the stars that are moving." And guess what? It showed that the stars were moving.
He was
Back-
a poorly
back
trained
in the-
astronomer.
at
He
the
was
beginning-
not a physicist.
back at the beginning
he
of
actually
the-
disagreed with Newton's work.
All right. Let me just go back to the first one that you said.
I told you.
The-
I studied this stuff professionally, and most of this is garbage.
So
Garbage.
When
You're
I
still
drive
telling
out of
me
town-
that thousands of people have lied to the public. You're telling me that.
yes, yes.
1953, Joseph Stalin died of a heart attack, of stroke. You know how long it took the Western world to find that out?
How long?
2 days. This is one of the most tightly controlled societies on earth. Now you're telling me
Yeah.
that these people have kept a secret for decades.
Yeah.
Millions of people
Well,
have
very
died.
few people at the top need to know.
Actually, that shows a misunderstanding of human psychology.
I think that you misunderstand the pyramid scheme. You know, if
I can't find
That's
it.
nothing to do. No.
Is it Trinity 4? Is it Trinty?
Trinity.
That's why I got it wrong.
ITY.
ITY. Yeah, that's what I did say.
But yeah, so let me tell you about this. The GPS, right?
No,
the data industry.
you're using
tell
those
us-
pictures, and you're actually misusing those particular diagrams, which show survey information over flat land. There's nothing to do with GPS. There's nothing to do with cell phone towers.
It's got everything to do
No,
with
it
cell
doesn't.
phone towers.
You don't even know how cell phone towers work.
When I drive out of town, away from the cell phone towers, I get very poor signal. Sometimes no signal at all. So if it was top down, there should be no loss of signal. But if it was from the towers, there is going to be a limited range that they can access. So the data industry tell us that 99% of data goes in cables undersea. The idea that it's all going through satellites cannot
Well,
be
that's how
substantiated
things
by
work. There
that.
are actual cables that are under the sea.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So why do we need satellites? If 99%
Well,
is going...
I'm not sure if satellites have a different purpose. Do they have like a purpose to take pictures
Satellites
of
do
the
lots of
planet?
different things.
Yeah,
You've got weather
test
satellites.
temperatures
You
and stuff like that
have
as well.
the military reconnaissance
These
satellites.
can all be done by balloons. You see the one that they
Well,
tried, they showed down in
No,
America
no.
recently?
Well,
no.
Oh yeah. These are all
satellite is
helium
probably
balloons.
better than the balloon though, because the balloon can be shot down.
What,
You
at,
know,
at
like-
200,000 feet?
China,
At
China,
200,000 feet? You see,
probably-
the weather
The,
balloons...
the
weather balloons
military
will
has
take
these
up
things
to
called anti-satellite
150,000
missiles that can take out
the
satellites.
Chinese balloon
So
that was
balloons are a big
over
deal.
in
America.
America. The Chinese started accusing the United States of having balloons. Well, the United States would have just had satellites, wouldn't they? Of course. Because they've already got them.
They actually have
So they
satellites.
wouldn't use balloons.
But
They
you
don't need to use
accept,
balloons.
you accept
They're-
that
they're
they
so
I'm trying to say.
can be-
Use
but you
smartphones.
accept that
They
they
don't
can
need that.
be weather balloons. And
They're
balloons
slower
that
as
can
well,
carry,
aren't they, balloons?
So,
heavier-
yes.
Oh, much lower. They could almost call them geosynchronous because they can float them up there and get them to stay in the sky.
The most of the helium balloon.
Okay,
Anyway,
you've
we're
got your
going-
phone-
we're
before you
diverging
go,
off the topic,
You've got Google on your phone, right?
Yeah, this
So
could go
why
on for
don't
a
you
long
pull
time.
up satellites in space?
Yeah.
See if you can find a single
I'm not
photograph.
blind. I'm not blind to this belief because I have actually investigated this side of the belief.
Well,
there's a program from Aaron Ra called Dis to Disca. Now it sounds a bit rubbish, but maybe watch that because that's quite a good one.
Yeah, I see the disc.
We've seen Dis to
The
Disca.
disc,
Yeah.
the disc
That's
is
quite interesting.
The disc is the psyop.
Yeah.
The idea that we live on a disc is a psyop.
Well,
if that's what
I
you
urge,
think, that
if
there's
your
an
followers
edge
believe,
and there's a
I'm not
disc,
sure that all your followers believe in this.
I don't have
anyway.
followers. But
Well, there's
people in
28
the-
people watching your live stream right now, so
yeah,
and you have 1,000 followers on your channel, which
Ah,
I've just seen.
this is my new channel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it used to be
This
richer,
is
but
1,117.
obviously I'm building up again.
So I was just thinking that they could watch Dis to Disca from Aaron Ra, and they might actually be able to understand what we're trying to say. 'cause
Aaron Ra, is he that atheist?
He is. I'm not an atheist personally, actually,
Yeah.
but you know.
I remember him. I used to watch him back in the day when I was an atheist, actually.
Anyway,
But here's the thing, that this
What do
idea
you
that it's a
believe in?
disc
Do you
and
believe
that
in
there's
what?
a vacuum of space cannot be substantiated.
Do you believe in
What we
do you
think-
believe in the Matrix? That's simulated
No,
reality.
it's just as silly as what he believes anyway.
Well, I thought Elon Musk said it was a simulation, and surely
Elon Musk is just
Elon
But
Musk.
you don't believe in Elon
Elon Musk
Musk
is just a
because
twat.
Elon Musk is a
I
scientist.
thought he was taking us to Mars.
Do you like
Don't be
SpaceX?
ridiculous.
I'm sure you would like
No
that.
one's going to Mars.
No one can go to Mars, yeah, because Mars is a light.
Anyway, yeah.
Just like the moon.
They did say to take these banners down because it's someone's property.
They
They
did,
will
did
come.
they? Are you also
Not to
working
silence, not
are
to
you also
silence
working,
you. You
working
probably
in
can move
management?
somewhere else.
Are you also working in management now?
No, I'm not. No.
See, the
But I
next time
heard
it
that's
comes
what
around, if
was
they're
said.
paying you, will you force children to put a nappy on their face?
But there
hope
was
not.
actually.
I hope
I
not,
would
Jake.
say to you.
Yeah.
I would say to you that there was actually a. There was actually that building there was even occupied, so you could just move it over there. If you wanted
Yeah, I
to.
could move it, yeah. But I thought
So
that
if they
that
did
one had
take clear
more.
off, just put it there.
That one had more thoroughfare, you know.
Yeah. Well, if they do take clear off,
Yeah.
you can go over that way because that's shut. That building's completely shut.
So you think Elon Musk is a twat?
Yeah.
By the way, I think he's deep state. I think
And
he
also,
works for the.
I know that
the
because
deep
there was
state.
people.
He's a
there was
trust fund
climate
baby of an emerald
protesters in that
farm, an
spot.
emerald miner
There was
from
climate
South Africa.
protesters
He's
in that
not
spot last
what
time.
you think he is.
So you'll have no trouble being there.
Alright, cheers, man.
Because they weren't there.
Earth is flat, not a
So they
spinning
let you
ball.
be there. Why would a
We don't
climate
live on
protester
a side of a rock. That doesn't make sense. Good luck, Josh.
Thank you anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, keep an open mind,
Sorry,
man.
I'm sorry, we got on the wrong. Not wrong
No, that's
terms,
fine.
but reasonable discussions.
Well, yeah, but
When
the thing
we
is,
get
is
overpowered, then it's hard
that
to
you've got to have an
discussion.
open mind that's willing to kind of hear some new information. Just to simply find reasons to counter it, well, is like the religious person does.
Well, I'm trying
or the
to- I'm
atheist.
trying to-
Oh, there's no missing link. You don't want to.
I was just seeing how gravity would work with this, and it didn't seem to
Do
work.
you need
with it,
gravity
because it
in a
didn't-
buoyant and dense
Exactly.
system?
This whole thing,
You see,
this
gravity
whole
is-
thing here collapses if we
Yeah,
mention
no,
gravity.
No, the need for gravity
Most-
collapses, and the need to make excuses for
But to
the
believe in
theory
flat
of
Earth,
gravity.
gravity
Which
is a very important thing.
it's a theory, though.
But gravity
Yes.
can still exist on
Yes,
a flat
you can
Earth.
demonstrate
Could
what you
gravity
call
still
gravity.
exist on a flat Earth?
Well, density and buoyancy exist on a flat.
Would it actually
There is.
disprove
Well,
flat
there is an
Earth?
electrostatic.
It would disprove the idea
attraction,
that
perhaps.
planes go like that because they don't, because gravity. That's what the whole point was. But yeah.
See, planes.
So we
You
have
could
an
take.
atmosphere.
Yeah, you could take a drone and fly it around this city
Yeah,
all day
yeah,
long,
yeah.
but flying underneath, impossible.
Well, it could.
Impossible.
It's not really.
Impossible.
It's like there's small changes, like.
But
small-
a 12-hour flight to
That's what takes long
Johannesburg
as well,
is
They're
90
traveling
degrees.
about 700 miles an hour as well.
So it's
It
90
takes 9
degrees.
hours, so
Yes, but it's still
that's
it's
quite a long
90
time.
degrees. So that plants are actually
Probably like
growing
really-
sideways.
Right.
And you remember the helium balloon I mentioned earlier on? If I let it go in South Africa, does it rise all the way to the top of the globe, or does it somehow stick itself
it
to
probably
the
will
side?
go pop by the time it gets to a certain height.
But in
because it's,
theory, let's just say
pressurised.
just say that you could float a balloon like that, like the hot air. Does it kind of rise up sideways and then go up, or does it somehow just coalesce on the side, even though gravity can't really be holding
I'm
it?
not sure. I don't know the answer to that question probably. I'm not,
Yeah, think about hot air and rising and how gravity
well,
on the side of a globe.
gases rise, don't they?
They
We
rise,
all
yeah,
know
but
the
if
gas
they rise
rises.
in Brazil with no gravity holding them down, then what are they going to do when they get to the roof? Do they coalesce like everything we would see in a test tube, which is that the gases would float to the top and the heaviest things would sink to the bottom?
No, not sure. No.
In a test tube, everything does that, follows that same law. The heavier things sink and the lighter things gather at the top. And you can turn that test tube upside down and everything will invert.
I don't know a second.
I'll show you my real name. Sorry. Yeah.
Look,
Oh,
you
yeah.
don't get this.
Yeah.
Thank you
Off
anyway, 'cause we've got-
gentlemen,
we've got
nice to have
lots of
spoken to you, of course.
Thank you. Thank you
All right,
for
you're welcome. Yeah, it's hi. Earth is flat, not a spinning ball. Do you want to film for it or take a break? I should just entertaining. Gravity. Yeah. Oh man, the boys are a little annoying today. It's not that thrilling from a viewer perspective. So I'd hope for more traffic. Maybe that'll pick up. I do need to get a bit more chalk. This is a bit small. Earth is flat, not a spinning globe. You've been lied to. Can you face it? Water would run off the edge. You know, it's so obvious once you see it, but for people who can't, this is hard. Earth is not a spinning rock, sir. We don't live on a globe. Earth is flat.
Oh yeah, but more.
Things are hard at the moment. Earth is flat, not a spinning globe. Earth is not a spinning space ball. Space is fake. We can't go to space. Thermodynamics demands that we must be in a pressure system. Protect the children from the information. But we'll send them on Monday. We'll send them tomorrow to be lined up for needlecraft lessons and good community oxygen thieving. It's a certain kind of energy here today. See that. You'll have a lovely day very soon. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah. Stories no, not a theory, just an idea. Yeah, I didn't take it too seriously. I only had 2 or 3, I don't know. Earth is flat, not a spinning globe. We live on a flat body of water with continents sticking above it. NASA fakes space to keep you in the mind of the monkey, to keep you thinking that we evolved from apes. Of course, we didn't evolve from apes. We're created perfect by the Creator. Earth is flat, not a spinning ball. Earth is flat, friends. I'm holding the flyer, but it's almost to no avail. Earth is flat. Take a photo of my poster. See them make up stories about the managers come to ask us to remove the thing.
Yeah.
It's just bullshit. Earth is flat, friends. Not a spinning rock. We don't evolve from monkeys. You've been lied to about that from childhood. This guy's helping the cause. Echoing some of it.
Good on you, mate. You support them, Dad?
I don't.
Who do you support?
Bristol.
Bristol Rovers or City?
City.
City, boy.
Earth is flat. My posters are, I think like my posters are not really holding people like I would hope. Earth is flat, my friends. Sorry to say, we've been lied to. Monkeys don't evolve into people. God made us like we are. We live inside a protected system.
I don't believe we came from monkeys neither.
Good.
In all honesty.
Good. That's another lie they try and force down the children. Big Bang is a Catholic invention. Earth is flat, not a spinning rock. Earth is not moving. We live on an unmoving plane. Earth plane. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, gravity is so easy to disprove, but it's like I haven't found the kind of key to unlocking that for people yet. I need to work on that. Robots, my granny's very ill and my legs are going to the time. Mr. Bates. Yeah, this is going to be amusing. You guys look well educated, so this is going to be hard to see. I know that. I've spoken to a lot of university type people.
Yeah.
I also came through the same indoctrination system, and my children who've been through university went through the same thing. But in 2015, I discovered there was a formula for the curvature of water on a globe. And that formula is so extreme that when you see it, you go, no, I've been to the beach. I've never seen that amount of curvature. Yes, I've seen a ship go over the horizon. But what if I can explain that away by a high-powered camera which shows that ship still to be there? Or when I go up in a hot air balloon to 200 meters and I see that ship and 5 ships into the distance. That's angular resolution. Things get smaller as they go away. We all know the train coming towards the station is getting larger. We know that. So as it's 3 and 4 miles away, imagine how much smaller it would be. So the formula for curvature is 8 inches per mile squared. If you do maths, you'll understand that in just 10 miles, you're talking about 800 inches of curvature. And 100 miles, it's getting off the charts into the miles of curvature. And that means that going to England, from England to France, theoretically, we're going downhill by an amount that can be measured. And if that's true, then logic and testable science says that you have to be coming back up. You can't be going down again, which is what it would look like if you were standing on the beach of Calais.
What's the explanation for like the pictures of the Earth from space?
These are all composite pictures. NASA admit that. In fact, there's one of these. There's a guy called Rob Simmons in one of those. Composite. Well, yeah, they take CGI, they take data. The guy who made the blue marble shot that went on the original Apple phone, he's on record on Time magazine saying we made this by taking data and then importing color, using the clone tool for clouds.
What about the people who study physics as well?
Sorry?
What about the people who study physics?
Well, let's say you're extremely good at physics. Then you have to work with the basis of these are the laws and these are the theories that are accepted. Gravity, as you mentioned, is a theory, and it's one that when you work in this area of physics or astrophysics, you have to take the measurements as they are. And guess what? The distance to the sun in the last 100 years has been changed by these same people 13 times. As little as 3 million miles. Kepler had it at 27 million miles. Currently, do you know how far it is now? No. 93 million miles. And back in 2015, the American scientists were saying, oh no, the sun might be bigger than we thought because of the solar eclipse was coming up and it was going to be seen bigger than the moon. So it's really, quite amazing that what you see in the sky, and when you're 5 years old, is 2 disks, a moon and a sun, and they both look about the same size to you at 5 years old. But once you get the indoctrination, you say, no, that's...
Wait, but what about the crescent moon? How does the crescent moon work?
Well, that's an interesting one. Well, how do you believe it works?
Well, isn't it? It's to do with when the sun blocks it.
Right, when the Earth blocks the sunlight, But what if I told you, since I worked this out in 2015, I became an avid moon watcher, and I see the moon 2 to 3 weeks of the month during the day with the crest. Impossible if that's how it's created. But you can't have both the sun and the moon in the sky with it being crested by the shadow of the Earth, which is below it. So I've seen that. And the moon, not only that, the moon rolls through the sky. If you watch it very closely over 6 hours, you'll notice that it's turning like a coin or a clock face, and clockwise in the northern hemisphere and anti-clockwise in the southern hemisphere. This is not explained by the model that I was taught at school.
So NASA is lying, and all scientists are also...
No, I mean, I've met scientists who are ancillary to these organizations.
Right.
Let's say you're a satellite engineer.
Yeah.
You're going to build a satellite, and to get NASA to put it on their rocket, you have to give them all of the data on it. So basically, they could recreate that if they wanted to, and then feed you data because you're not in the rocket. Or one of the other things that they definitely do is they put these satellites onto massive hot air balloons. The size of a football stadium, like Wembley Stadium, is massive. That they're helium. They can go up in for 6 months with solar panels on them. They can have a 3 or 4.
Aren't real. They're hot air balloons.
Most data in the world is carried through the undersea cables. That's admitted by the data industry, 99%. So your phone is triangulating when you're using GPS or anything else. It's triangulating from towers on the road or in your town. When you go out, as I've just come from the countryside, we've got no signal out there. Now, if this was top-down satellites, there should be no loss of signal just because I happen to be 10 miles from town. That's what you see anywhere in the world. So yes, they have been, since the 1950s, using helium balloons to hold a transmitter and receiver up in the sky.
Why
Is
wouldn't
possible.
we see them if they're so massive?
Why wouldn't we see them?
Yeah.
They're 150,000 feet, 200,000 feet. So
but if it's the size of Wembley Stadium.
Yeah. Well, what if we sometimes do see them and we think that what we're seeing is the ISS, or we see something else? There's lots of things moving around in the sky, particularly at night if you're in the countryside. You see that. But I don't know that we would necessarily see them. I mean, in an aircraft at just 30,000 feet is hard to see. If you doubled that, it would be almost impossible to see it. So to take that and double that again, that's not a good enough. Why don't you Google satellites in space? If you can find a single photograph, you'll be onto something, because no one has found a photograph. They're all CGI. If you can tell the difference, you will know that it's a painting. It's not a photograph that someone took with a camera. Like if you were going on the moon landings, right? One of the things that you would definitely do is take lots of footage of the Earth from the moon. They didn't until the last space mission on the moon. They took one photo and it's called the moonrise or whatever.
The moon landing fake as well.
It must be.
Why?
It looks so real, it must be fake. Those are Elon Musk's own words when he put a car into space. It looks so real, it looks so fake, it must be real. That's what he said. And you know what they took? They took a normal car, Tesla, and put it up into space. Now, space is apparently got all these high temperatures. It's got a vacuum. That vacuum should pop a pneumatic tire instantly. Yeah. The spacesuit, for example, is a good example of how I know that they never went, because we've never tested a spacesuit in a vacuum on the Earth. The NASA's vacuum chamber is the biggest we have, apparently. It's got like these 8-foot thick walls, and they cannot put a man in a 4 to -6 vacuum, when space is many times greater than that, the vacuum. So when you see them doing a spacewalk and a man nearly drowns in 2015, it was on the BBC, a man's helmet filled with water, you can take the excuse that, it was his cooling system failed, but now they all use a mouth breather when they go on a spacewalk, because they test in the swimming pool and the spacesuit looks the same as it does when they're on a spacewalk. So is it possible they were pulling it off with blue screen? You have to ask the question.
What do you get out of coming out here and
Truth speaking, what do I get from it? I get to tell people some truth. And you know what? There is a saying that evil prospers when good men do nothing. Yeah. And I was in the camp of the evil, doing nothing up until 2015. And once I discovered this formula for the curvature, and I grew up by the sea, my dad's in shipping, I was like, I've seen far too far for that formula to apply. Yeah. I've seen things that are low down, way too far. They should be under the curve of the horizon. So what do I get from it? Yeah, I mean, it's almost like a mission for me now, I'm 55. I'd gone through most of my 30s and 40s and not given a shit about anything. I went to war as a kid when I was 19 in a country called Angola. I happened to hand Prince Harry a copy of my book that I wrote about it. So I went through all of the shit. And then now I've discovered that, even this idea of evolution, so they come from apes and all that, is bullshit. We were created as we are. And I've got this far into it without any religion to say that I think that the creator is partly you, is that each of us is the creator, or the essence of the creator. And we are expressing for the creator in a system that it doesn't want us to know that. Whether it's because it's bad, or whether it's because it's a test to see whether you're going to get caught up with all the deadly sins, just whiling away your life, doing selfish things, working for a dead entity called a corporation, doing all of those things, or are you going to become more natural? I see you got Pfizer on your shirt there. Is that you work for them?
No, I don't. But observant. Yeah. Well, so presumably vaccines as well there.
at times that they're a good thing. I wouldn't go, never take a needle.
Yeah.
I for sure. I think that there are times when that's essential and even life-saving. But I haven't seen that in the last 3 years.
If science is lying to you about, all these things.
Us, not you, us.
Okay, us.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, they were lying to me.
But surely, things like increasing life expectancy, you can't really deny that.
Why? Okay.
Let me answer that question and then your question. So the life expectancy thing, I think, is a little bit of a misdirection in that, because I would accept that it maybe 150 years ago life expectancy was lower than it is now. I would accept that. But I believe that if you go back even further than that, life expectancy could have been far greater. Now, I'm not a biblical guy, but the Bible insists that Noah lived for like 900 years. And so there is this idea, and I can't substantiate it, that once upon a time 120 could have been a youngster. And that we live now to say 80, 85. We do that a lot with the help of pharmakeia. Lots of pills and lots of needles and all of that sort of thing to keep us alive, when nature should be able to keep us alive that long.
But we know that, Neolithic people or whatever, they didn't live very long.
Yeah, I mean, so I used to believe in all of that, like, evolution story, but I think that actually when you look at some of the oldest temples and the oldest cathedrals and things like that, I don't know exactly how old this one is, but Canterbury is 800 years old. And today, 800 years later, these simple folk who had horse and cart and were tiny were building structures that still look awesome to us today. And we would struggle to pull off such beauty today. So the whole way our history has been written, I'm just going to offer this to you, is the idea that actually it's all been flipped. That actually we come from a much higher culture, and we've been devolved. And so we can barely think about it today, like without the help of the computer, what could we build? Without the help of the crane, what could we really build?
It's very bold that you're, able to deny sort of history and
I'm not denying
science.
History. I think history exists, but who is his story? Think about this, that to the victor the spoils, and the victor gets to write the history. So if I write this history that says, we're on our way up, when in fact we're on our way down, then that's a great way of controlling people. But I've been around in the last 7 years, really looking at these old buildings closely since I started, discovering our history may not be. My daughter studied history at Canterbury. That was her thing at uni. So we were loggerheads about this. But when I look at the high ceilings and the grand buildings and the big staircases that make no sense for little people, I'm thinking these were not horse and cart people. Well, the story also goes that we're getting taller, and that we were shorter before.
But they weren't tiny.
Well, I mean, if you take the Shakespearean story, everyone will take you through that little house in Stratford-on-Avon and say, look how small the people were, and then you really, you're a bit taller than me. But even me, I have to bend down to get through that house, and that would only make sense if you were like a 5-foot man.
But we we dig up skeletons of bodies that would have died. And they're not dwarves or.
No, okay, maybe not dwarves, but no, the story that we're told is that people have gotten taller, and I wouldn't disagree that in the last 100 years that maybe we are getting taller. Why that is another conversation. But here's the thing: when it comes to tall people, back in the 1800s, the people like in America would do a dig, and they'd come up with like a 12-foot skeleton. And they put that up in a local museum, and then over time the Smithsonian Institute just came and hoovered up all of this evidence that there'd once been really tall people. And when you go into some of these grand buildings like in Westminster or whatever, you go, wow, why would short people, shorter than 6 foot, make 12-foot and 15-foot ceilings if they were small and the building was hard and you had to heat that place and so on? So the idea that, and there's doors in Europe that are like 30, 40, even 50-foot tall doors. And it's like...
But in answer to the question which I asked, which was about life expectancy, you say that it's actually going, or that it might have at one point been
higher,
much higher.
Yeah, but even if you go around a lot of churchyards, you'll find 90-year-old people. Not like overwhelmingly, but people were living to 90 years old in the 18 and 1700s. You can find evidence of this.
But, so do you disagree with science on the whole?
No. Remember, that's not science. That's a conclusion based on data. And so you can take data and use it in any way that you like. I mean, they took the ONS, I went to pull off the ONS data, as I'm sure most people with a thinking mind should have done when they were locked down in 2020. And I pulled off 100 years of death stats for this country in Wales. And I couldn't find, other than in the over 85s, I couldn't find any blip in the last 5 years of the death rate. So if I was in charge, I would have said the data says don't lock down. But somebody else read that data, I assume.
There was no blip so that people died during COVID.
There was no blip. On over 85, except in over 85. Except in over 85.
But that's the point of locking down.
No. What they told us that everybody was going to get sick. So what you should have seen in those first 3 months was ambulances going to your street and taking 4 bodies out of a house where they'd all infected each other. And all that. We never saw that. The hospitals were on their record quietest during that period. I'm talking about the first 6 and 9 months.
You don't just die of COVID suddenly in your house.
No.
You would become ill and then go to hospital.
But I'm offering you that the data, I only looked at it at the end of 2020, so the data up until that point did not bear out pandemic.
So you're saying millions of doctors around the world, millions of scientists who were lying?
No.
What,
they
all
believe.
mislead?
Look. At the end of the day, right? You get given this headline data from the top down. In this case, the NHS chief executive says we have this thing. So you have to respond to that thing. You know, like in my country, in Angola, we went to war as kids, you know, because we were told that the communists were coming. Now, if you were in England growing up, you go, you guys are such racists, and why are you even doing this war kind of thing? But the propaganda in our place had good men take their sons and good officers take their troops into battle.
So what,
based
people
on
that believe that the
data.
Earth is round and that science is real and history is not actually a form of controlling us, that's us just being misled.
Yeah, the whole schooling system from the university system down was given to us by who? The system. They created that.
But who is that?
The people that are running that.
Who's the man at the top of this?
All roads lead to Rome, some say, you know, so maybe it's the Vatican, maybe it's that. Maybe there's a black nobility of 13 families that control it. Maybe there's people that talk to like devil, you know, Satan entities, and they're being controlled in that way. But if you think about it like this critically, how is it not possible we're under some centralized world order when countries like South Africa lock down 60 million people with 4 cases of the flu? 60 million people. If you owned a business of 6,000 people and one person turned up with flu, would you shut it down?
No, but why does that indicate that it's all being run by
Because if I can lock your business down, that means that I've got some control over you.
Yeah.
And if I can say to you, don't look over the fence, and if you leave your house, it can only be in these hours, and when you do, you have to put a nappy on your face.
Yeah.
If I can do that, then I own you.
Right. I mean, if you want to live in society, you sort of have to accept that there will be a government. And the idea is that in a democratic nation, the government is, you know, voted for, elected, and people have some say. Arguably, it's not always the case. But you have to sort of, like, you know, if you can't just argue that because the government is trying to save lives a pandemic, that's them just exerting control over you for no reason.
But that you're asking to prove something that cannot be proven. You know, if I told you all to stay at home in this town for a month, that's going to save lives. I couldn't actually prove how many people would have died, because people will still die anyway of old age, etc. Maybe less people will fall and out in the street and hurt themselves in that way. But it still means that what matters is whether I'm telling you the truth.
Yeah.
You see, so I'm old enough to have supported Tony Blair when he took us to war against Iraq, because we were told, you may not remember this, but we were told that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction that he could unleash on the West in 45 minutes. Yeah. That later was proven to be a bold-faced lie. Yeah. Now they try and spin it as, oh, well, we misunderstood what we were told and all this bullshit. But this is what we get, is time after time after time, like at the Gulf of Tonkin affair, how they got the Vietnam War started. How Hawaii was bombed by the Japanese, even though the British had warned them that the Japanese are coming. Even though the Australian fleet had said, you see the Japanese on the move, they're on the move somewhere. They didn't do anything to stop that. Why? Because once America was stung with the Pearl Harbor, they went to war in World War II.
What's the point of this,
though? Because we're being misled, and people will continue to do stupid things to their health. their own personal health. How many people in the street that I've spoken to personally who have said someone I know took the needle and got sick or died soon afterwards, and they were healthy.
Of the vaccine?
Yeah. Are you aware that the government minister stood up this week in Parliament and said, are you government looking at VAERS, at the vaccine injuries? Are you looking at the yellow card system?
No.
Because in that system, more than 500,000 people, it's claimed, have put in a claim of injury post-V. So, where is the politicians? Let me tell you, when he delivered that to the House of Commons, he was the only one in the House. Everybody is hiding, and I've heard a guy who was in the House of Commons talk about how there was a code of silence during the first months of the lockdown, that you cannot go against whatever the government's saying. So when you say that a doctor says, oh, I've spoken to a doctor who says, yeah, there's this really great cannabis product for our people with a certain condition, but I can't use it because the government has said no.
But we know that vaccines work.
Okay, so I mean, when it comes to the simplicity of us being natural beings, if we lived in the jungle, our food would be our medicine.
Right.
We'd have no need for needles. That's how nature intended us. And the more young people and people move away from, we use food as our medicine, but we use pharmakia as our way of staying alive longer and so on, the more we become dependent on that. And when it comes to immunity, and even Fauci's on record, I think, saying this, is that a natural immunity is better than a vaccinated immunity. A vaccinated immunity has to only last for a few months, which is why people keep going up for boosters, right? Whereas a natural immunity, I think, is a lifetime. So actually, we should be allowed to get flu. It's a normal process. And I believe that that's all we got. We got a bad flu.
The vaccine doesn't stop you from getting flu.
Yeah, so then what's the point of taking it?
So that your
I had a good friend. He was in the army with me, same age as me. And he in South Africa, he was like, oh, I'm going to take it. I said, why? He said, because then there's less chance of me going to hospital. 2 weeks later, he was in ICU for 5 weeks, nearly dead. And it's like, are you sure that that's not related? He might have had other health complications, but let me tell you that this is not being like what they sold you on. And if you're still holding to that, I can't help you, but I'm just a guy who's saying, no, that's not what evidence on the ground. The number of people, you can go on my channel, look at people just last week where I was in Wales, and at least 3 or 4 people come to me and say, someone close to me has passed recently and they were healthy. So it's a growing phenomenon, and this need to rely on medicine rather than your natural, fruit and so on is a shame, really. It's because it's part of making humanity dependent on the petrochemical pharmacia industry.
All right, I'm gonna have to head off.
It's been nice chatting, man. I'm Dave.
Dave.
My YouTube is Trinity 4.
This wasn't posted on YouTube, if that's possible.
It's live. I can't help it.
Oh, okay. It's a live stream. Okay, well, hello. That's all right. How many people are watching
right now? Just 30.
Okay,
30.
Fine. Yeah.
And I had you too zoomed in. Yeah, I couldn't even see. Sorry, guys. I was too zoomed in. I couldn't even see your face. So you're cool. Yeah, take a picture, put it on your social media. We've been lied to about where we are. We can't live on the underside of a globe. Water doesn't flow uphill. Rivers don't flow up the side of Africa. We've got to live on a flat plain inside of an enclosure.
Why?
Why? Well, thermodynamics demands that if you want to have a pressure system, like a Coke can or a deodorant can, you've got to contain it. If you break it, there will be equalization of pressure. So people say gravity is why it doesn't equalize. Well, gravity will not keep a deodorant in your can. In the same way, it would not keep our atmosphere from going into a vacuum. So we don't know what's above us, but we think that there is a ring of ice that stops us from getting out, and there's a roof over top, which is why the guy who was the head of NASA rocket program through the Apollo missions, Werner von Braun, on his tombstone it says Psalms 19:1, which says there's a roof. It says that God showeth God's handiwork with there being a firmament.
You live streaming?
Yeah.
Or you live streaming?
On YouTube.
YouTube?
Yeah.
What is it? How to go on it?
Trinity 4.
Trinity 4. Number 4.
Number 4, yeah.
Trinity 4.
Yeah,
oh, this one here.
There you go. There you go. It's 10 seconds behind, I guess.
Oh, isn't it?
There you go.
There
you go. Yeah, I'm still building up my channel. I lost my last YouTube channel because YouTube don't like me talking about some of the stuff I talk about. Jiggy were taking needles, covering your face with the mask. They don't like that at all. So you can see some of the conversations I've had today. All right, guys. 33. Shh. Don't tell. Hey, did you want to take a?
No, I'll hold the camera.
Oh, well, that was quite a nice conversation. Isn't it? Today has been more challenging for me and being adjusting. There's more here. I was in the golf. Oh yeah. Oh, the battery pack is here. Which is in the bag. Oh guys, I am so sorry. That whole conversation with that guy, I didn't realize I zoomed right in on his chest. That was poor because I didn't look away from his eyes, you know. So I'm not looking at the screen. Sorry, man. I do apologize for that. So that's live action for you. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Earth is flat, not a spinning globe. We lied to you about where we live. Today, the Earth is flat, not a spinning rock. We don't evolve from monkeys. I haven't been able to give away one of my things today. I have had someone give me the thumbs up, and so that was cool. But it hasn't been like it was in Wales with all those workfolk coming around. Earth is not a spinning rock. We don't evolve from monkeys. We've been lied to about where we live and who we are. Earth is flat. Got to say Earth is flat, hey, because it really just catches people and they go, oh, I'll listen to that. Put that in their pocket. I'm going to give this phone some juice. That shirt. Yeah, that Fizzer shirt. Oh my gosh. I can't. And all they want you to say is no V, no V. Earth is not a spinning rock. It's flat. Yeah, I feel like my banners are a little bit lost in this setting.
Yeah.
Earth is not a spinning globe. We can prove that very easily. Earth is flat, just like water. Water level, sea level.
The new banners will probably stand out there quite well.
Oh, yeah, there's new banners coming, by the way. Thanks for reminding me. Thought they might be here yesterday, but apparently Monday is delivery day.
Monday.
Earth is flat. Earth is flat, not a spinning rock. We don't evolve from apes. We are created perfect in the Creator's image. Earth is flat.
Earth is flat, folks.
Earth is not a spinning stone. The vacuum of space is the vacuum that's been created in your mind to believe that you could live on a spinning stone. Earth is not a spinning stone.
World's flat, folks.
I'm going to have to give you some. Yeah. Earth is flat, not a spinning rock. We don't evolve from monkeys. Earth is not a spinning stone. The vacuum of space is faked by Disney, which is NASA. Disney and NASA. The helium balloon would float away if you let it go. Gravity doesn't exist. Earth is flat, not a spinning rock. We don't live on a globe. The soul lure system is designed to trap your soul. Earth is flat, not a spinning stone. Come get some information. NASA fake space. NASA is Disney for children, for adults. NASA is Disney for adults. Please get your big issue.
Please get your big issue from here, but know that the Earth is not a spinning globe. We've been lied to about vacuum of space. We never landed on the moon. Everything is designed to rob you of the truth of who you are and the centrality that you hold to this creation. The Creator wants you to know that you're created perfect, not evolved from monkeys. You are not evolved from a monkey. That's a fake space to keep you in a small mind, to keep you a prisoner. To ensure that you line up for your next needle. Moderna, Pfizer, take your next needle, believe the government, trust the government. But I'm telling you now that you can't prove you live on a spinning rock, and you can't prove that you evolved from apes, even though you may think you did. You were created perfect as you are. The globe is a trick designed to keep you in prison.
Yeah, there's some places that really work better than others, and I've still to kind of get this place, give this a seal of approval. But I just wanted to share quickly that Salisbury has special memory for Andrea and I, because back 3 years ago, this was the first place we stayed at after we'd received some funds from YouTube subscribers. It was the first time we'd asked for donations, I think January 2020. And we just spent like a week at my daughter's university house. She was away on ski tour with her pals, so we were able to use her place for a week. And then as we were leaving that, we asked for help. And some YouTubers, some supporters, some folks were good enough to give us, a good few £100. That really was a bit of a game changer, because we were skint. We did have a few nights with Mary in Canterbury, who I'd only just met the night before, so they were very kind to give us a place to stay. But we then came here to Salisbury and got a cheap hotel room, and we ended up staying, I think, 3 or 4, maybe 5 nights, trying to work out what to do next. So this place has a special memory for us. Thought I'd just share that with you. Hey folks, we live on a flat plane. We can't live on a spinning rock. We don't evolve from monkeys. Those are fake using Disney and NASA.
No, telecamera. Telecamera no.
Earth is flat, not a spinning rock. You've been lied to. Elon Musk is hoaxing you. You can't put cars in space. You can't put a man in space. We've never put a man in a vacuum chamber, let alone in this outer space you believe it. Space is fake. Earth is flat. The sea is level. That's why we say sea level. Sea level, not sea curve. Earth is flat, bro. Do you use a gyroscope? Does it use gravity to stay level, or is it just level because it's going to stay level until you land? Gyroscopes disprove that, and there's plenty of pilots on YouTube telling us that the Earth is flat. They make no allowance for curvature.
Well, what else could you be doing on a Sunday? Arguing with pilots. Ma'am, the Earth is flat. We live on a stationary Earth, just like it says in the Bible. There is a firmament, just like it says on the Bible. There has to be a roof here. Thank you. There has to be a roof here. Thermodynamics demands an enclosed system if you want pressure, like your deodorant can. Pierce the deodorant can, equalize the pressure. Pierce the bubble of our roof, and there would be equalization instantly. It would be horrific. Earth is flat, just like we say sea level. All the water on Earth is level. That's why topography
bases itself on zero sea level, no matter what map you look at. Topography proves that we live on a flat Earth. The continents have got mountains, of course, but the Earth has one body of water. Earth is flat, my friends. We've been lied to since the cradle. NASA is designed to trick you, the European Space Agency, to rob you of a little bit of extra tax money, while continuing to make people believe that Tim Peake went to outer space. Do you know Tim Peake never tested his spacesuit in a vacuum chamber? No one has ever tested a spacesuit in a vacuum chamber. Why? Because they do spacewalks underwater. NASA spacewalks are conducted underwater. Water is level, always finds its own level. Water will run downhill until it gets pooled. The sea is level and gases settle at their level. Come debate me. You know so much about your globe, come debate me. The globe is a hoax. The globe is designed to make you a small slave, to keep you trapped in a prison, to get you wearing nappies on your face when your government tells you to do so, needling your children when the government tells you to do so, no longer trusting the Creator, no longer trusting the higher purpose set out by the Creator. We are God's expression right here. You are the living incarnation of God, but you would rather give that away to government, to Parliament, to Tony Blair, or Boris Johnson, or Donald Trump, or Wuhan. I saw Brian Stabley talking about Wuhan the other day, and I think he's spot on about that. You know, Wuhan and the lab leak, it's more theatre. It's more theatre. And it just, as he was saying, you know, it just continues this idea that it's something that can be spread from person to person, when I don't think that you can spread things from person to person, other than good vibrations or bad. Earth is flat. Film it.
Are you guys just fishing for a reaction?
Film it. Yeah, well, we're getting a lot of reaction from people who don't like the belief system challenge. Do you believe you live on a spinning ball?
I mean, I've been on a plane and I've seen that it go like round, literally.
Yeah, Neil deGrasse Tyson, he's a very famous scientist, claims that you cannot be high enough in an aircraft. You need to get above 150,000 feet. But we've taken weather balloons up to 120,000 feet, and everything we see up there looks level. So we believe that we live on a globe. Do you know how fast the globe is spinning?
I'm not too sure myself, no.
Okay, because they say it's spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, which is faster than the speed of sound. So in theory, I should be able to go up and let the Earth rotate underneath me and come down in Paris.
No, because you keep some of the rotation, you keep all of the rotation.
All of the rotation.
Well, when you...
How can you demonstrate that to me using, for example, a roundabout? If you jump up off a roundabout, are you going to continue keeping all of the motion, or are you going to quickly fall behind the roundabout and then slip over as you land back on the ground?
Well,
think about it.
Due to air resistance.
Air resistance. So where's the air resistance gone in the example that you just cited?
Well, as you go up, you do get slowed down really fast.
So the air is not moving as fast as the Earth?
The air moves at the same speed.
And so if at 100 miles, the air is moving faster in order to stay as a column above me, what's motivating that?
What's motivating that?
Well, you know, if I spin a tire, this bicycle wheel, yeah? The air nearest the wheel, moving fastest. As you get away, slows down. Yeah, that's physics. Yep, that I can test. And you can test. No, that's not Coriolis effect. That is drag. And then as I drag the thing, I can bring some air with me, like a fan does. But eventually, the further you get away, the less the power, right? So the further you get away from the Earth that's spinning, and you say is dragging the atmosphere, the less it should be moving. And we should see it retarding behind the movement of the Earth. Can you point to me in the direction that we're rolling now at 1,000 miles an hour? No. No, you can't. No, you can't point to me the direction because your senses don't feel it. If you were feeling it, you would be able to point it to me. But what if it's that the light is moving, just like it's when a guy kicks a ball in the football stadium, the stadium doesn't move, the ball moves over his head, right? And that's what we see. We see the sun moving over our head, but we're told when we're small that this is you rolling backwards. That cannot be proven. There's no earthbound experiment that demonstrates and proves this thing that we are moving.
The only
That's why they gave up.
Gravity does.
They gave up the experiment called
G-force and the earth
they
spins
gave
and the
up
gravity
the experiment that they were using in the 1800s to try and test to prove whether the Earth was moving.
Gravity.
And they gave up on that.
Gravity.
Gravity's a theory, so you can't
Gravity's not-
throw a theory down and say that proves it. You've got to then demonstrate it
Theory,
physically.
a scientific theory. It's not
You've got to demonstrate it
theory
physically.
and a mathematical theory.
You've got to demonstrate it
And a
physically.
theory has to testable.
Josh has come back for a second bite
Yeah,
of the
but
cherry.
a theory is testable. Yeah, a theory is testable, isn't it?
A theory needs to be
theory is
demonstrable.
A
A
theory
theory
is
is an
not just a blind
idea.
guess.
Yeah,
No,
it's
the
an
idea
idea.
you think that a theory is a blind guess is not true.
Look.
A theory is a body of evidence.
Okay,
of
so if I
facts.
just theorize
There are some
that
things
something
that are
was
not-
hot,
Yeah.
I would need to then touch it
It
or
would
get
test
near
it,
it to
yeah.
go, okay, now I've proven, or put a thermometer
Yeah, it
on,
will
now
be
I can
testable,
prove it.
yeah.
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 Now we can't prove this thing that is going to that gases
Scientific
are going to
theory is
rise
different
up
to mathematical theory.
and
Do
get
you
to
agree?
keep up with
Yeah, I
this
do.
speed, in fact go faster, because as I said to you now, young man, the bicycle proves it to me. When I was a kid and I was spinning
theory
my
of
bicycle,
relativity-
I could get the wind right by the bicycle to go
Yeah.
quite fast, but it wouldn't go all the
theory
way
of
around.
relativity has not
It
been
would be
tested for over
retarded
100
as it got
years
away from it.
because it is demonstrable fact.
No,
People
it's
try
not a
testing
fact.
it.
No, it's not a fact.
The
To
only-
drop
well,
something
it
and
is.
say that's
Theory of
proving
relativity is a fact.
all these other little things that you want to attribute to it is not proving that.
The only debate I have
But this is a
with the
fact.
flat
This
Earth-
proves
John,
gravity. This proves gravity right here. Yes,
no.
it does.
So then your anti-gravity was lifting it up.
No, because I'm not doing nothing to that bag. That
So,
bag's
so
been-
why is it not getting crushed into the ground now?
Because the atoms aren't strong. The bag, well, first of all, the
It had to
bag
be
is
lifted
obviously
up.
not as solid as the
It
ground.
had to
is
be
it?
lifted up against its natural buoyant state, right? So its natural place is there on the ground.
It went down to the floor.
But you picked it up, Josh. Are you
Yeah,
not
I
wanting
can
to
pick
hear
it up.
me?
Yeah, I can
I'm
pick it
telling you
up.
that you're picking it up, so
Yeah, but it has
you're
weight.
offering it energy.
It has weight, doesn't it? When I'm
You're,
picking it
you're
up.
offering it energy. The
Yeah.
higher you put
It
it,
has
the
weight
more
because
muscle
there's a
you have to
force.
use,
Yeah.
and the more energy
Yeah.
it has to
Yeah.
fall and break
I
whatever's
can,
in
I
it.
can beat gravity by doing this. But if I do that, my arms fall down. Do that, it falls down.
Because your natural place is to be
It's not
lying on the
force of
floor.
gravity, it's not like
Josh,
you think.
your
It's
natural
not
place
like-
is to be lying on the floor. It takes musculature and 1 or 2 years of development to get to the point where you can stand up against the natural forces that are holding you to the floor. Now, to make it say that now that force is going to stick me to the side of a ball cannot be proven. To make it say that it's going to stick gases
Well,
so
try
they
and float in the
travel
air
at
then. Try and
1,500
float in the
miles
air.
an
Let's see you
hour.
float in the air.
How do you
We'll go
explain
float
I
in the
can
air
float
then.
in water
Float in the air.
because
Yeah, float in
I'm
water.
more dense than air.
Yeah,
Don't you get that?
Yeah, you can't
You're
float
being
now,
dense
can
right
you?
now.
You can't float now, can you? Come on, float.
No, of course
float
not,
for us.
because I'm heavier
Because
than
gravity exists.
No, but
You're
I
being
could-
contracted by atoms right now as the atoms are pulling you in to pull you to the ground.
What's your point?
My only debate with the flat Earth theory is that if there was a flat Earth, with the excess speed going, making the Earth move at however many miles per hour you say it is.
The Earth is not moving in a flat Earth.
The point I'm trying to make here is if the Earth was really flat,
Yeah.
the speed that it's going at now would actually make it drift off. Like a feather in the wind, if that makes sense.
Okay, so let me
Because
just
you're-
clarify.
What
Then
you're
you have
saying is technically it's flat. Therefore,
no.
there's no weight.
No, that's a
in order
starting
to keep
point.
The Earth moving.
No, that's a starting point. Like, let me tell you what we think we know. I think that we live inside of an like a sphere, inside of a
round there.
ball. Outside of that, there might be water.
There is an
and we're
atmosphere
inside
around
of that.
us, yeah.
We're enclosed in that. Thermodynamics demands that we have to have a roof, because if there was no roof, just like the helium balloon, just like the deodorant can, once you puncture it, the gas will equalize or go to its highest point. And so this idea that helium is going to go up for 50,000 feet or whatever, and then all of a sudden gravity is going to gravity and go hold of it. Now you're 50,000 feet away from the Earth. Now all of a sudden I've got power to hold you? No, it would continue going up. That's basic thermodynamics. There has to be a container. So we say we have to have a container. We have to live inside of a container. So when I look to nature, what do I see? I see everything has a peel, a bark, a skin, a shell. Everything in nature has that, except this globe idea that all the water's on the outside of the skin rather than somehow contained. So when you chop the orange open like that and let it fall open naturally, where you see the seeds, that would be our continents. Within them. We're on those continents with a body of water, like the fruit of the orange, all around it. That's the world that I think that we live in. This idea that there's a vacuum of space, there's a disk that's spinning,
we believe
none of
in
that is
this.
what anybody
you
in the
believe
flat
in that,
earth
don't you?
movement
Would you
calls.
agree that you believe in what you believe in? This is you say you think. Using like
But I can test the water's level. And you just don't want to accept
can
that when I
test the
say that I
water's
can
level as
take a 10 mile or a 1 mile lake and test that to be provably level.
They put a
from side to
laser
side.
across. That's not
Whoa,
long
whoa,
enough
whoa,
though.
whoa,
The
whoa,
lake
give
is
you
not
that.
big enough.
So, no, but you see, when you
You've
can't
been watching
test
Good Morning
something
Britain. I've seen
in
this
science,
before. Good Morning Britain. If you watch that
Josh, come on boy, listen to me. When you can't test 100,000 miles, you say, look, I can test 1 mile, 10 miles. At what point do you say now it's going to start curving, even though at 20 miles and 30 miles in Lake Billical, which is one of the biggest lakes that freezes over every winter and they turn it into an ice rink, 300 miles, and it's a level lake that they ski on. So when do you get this curvature?
That doesn't mean it's not curvature, because if light hits one side of the earth, it bounces off. It's like
Okay,
a mirror.
no,
Like
not
a mirror,
to do with
yeah?
light.
Like a
See,
mirror.
water is meant to be
It
curving. If
wouldn't-
you've ever played football,
it wouldn't
you
just
should
hit
know,
inside something else.
you should know,
Same.
Josh, that a football is perfectly spherical.
Yeah.
And they
If I
claim
put-
we live on something that, listen to me, that we live on something that's almost perfectly spherical, which means that any body of water anywhere on Earth should maintain that. You can't just say, oh, well, we're going to have patches here because it suits me, patches here that are flat. No, it's all got to retain and be pulled in by what Earth's gravity is pulling it in, which means that an Olympic
project a
swimming pool
laser-
should have a quarter-inch rise in
So
the
if
middle.
I project a laser across this 300 miles, a 300-mile laser, which I don't really know if that exists because it's not powerful enough.
Yeah.
But if we had one that long, would we not see a difference between the height of that laser if the Earth is spherical?
Hold on.
Put you on the spot now.
So
if the laser goes straight on
Yeah.
the flat Earth, but if we have a laser that's powerful enough to go for 300 miles, would we see a difference between the floor level and the laser? So for now, the laser's here, but it
Josh.
might be
Okay,
over
that's
there
not the
when
best
we get-
example because obviously
That wouldn't be a
lasers
good
scatter
example.
over distance. We know that because particularly because you're putting light through water. You know the areas are very thin water. You know that, right? So it scatters the light. That's what we know water will do. So I can't. That's not the best thing. But let me give you some things that are useful.
But
The
it would be a
world
good
record,
start,
the world record photograph from one point to another is in France over a mountains called I forget now, an island off in the distance. Once a year for just about 2 days, the sun is setting just behind this mountain, and it's 250 miles away. And according to the trigonometry that we're given for the globe, it should be at least a mile underneath the curve, but they can see all of it. So then the guy in America took a high-powered camera with an infrared scope on it, and he was able from California to see all the way into Baja in Mexico. And I've seen this photograph. Now people say, oh, that's bullshit or whatever. But when I was a kid, I went on an 747 from South Africa to London. The pilot let me sit in the front for half an hour, and all I could see was cloud flat for 5 minutes and 10 minutes of flying in front of me. And if you continue that, let me finish. You're not wanting to hear what I'm saying. It's stuff that is important if you're willing to have an open mind and go, shit, okay, maybe I should question the beliefs that I've been given, because none of these things that I believe like you can actually be substantiated. The idea that my plane is flying around a quarter of the globe and my perpendicular is going to change by 90 degrees, nothing in my senses, my gyroscope, the plane's gyroscope is going to say that. And there are pilots, 747 pilots, who are on YouTube saying, we don't allow for curvature. We get up to 30,000, 40,000 feet and we see level in front of us and we just fly for 5 hours or whatever. This idea that it's going down and then people are coming back up again cannot be substantiated. In fact, why don't NASA put a 4K camera on the moon and watch us spinning in real time? They haven't. They haven't, and then they have had feeds, but these things look like loops, and they don't look at all convincing.
So even if they did it, you'd say they wouldn't look convincing.
You've got to realise that I know that they faked the moon landings, and I know they faked the international.
Well, no,
space
they've admitted that now. They said that the moon landing was actually a fake.
That they couldn't go. In fact, Buzz Aldrin is on record saying to an 8-year-old girl, he said. She said to him, why haven't you gone back in 50 years? He said, that's my question. The truth is we never went. That's what he said.
What about a laser?
There's a Russian, when you say we, are you part of the program? You get it on the TV. The TV tells you they're going back.
Lasers at the time to
okay, so
project those shadows
let me give you some. I know you can do that. Let me tell you that there are rocket launches that haven't. Wait, Josh. Wait, just listen to my information. I'm just giving you information. You can digest it in your own time, but just talking over me is just showing me that you're not wanting to hear anything. I'm giving you, like guys, for example, the space. Think about it. If you're going to the vacuum outer space and you don't bother testing your suit in a vacuum, wouldn't that be a little like suspicious to you? And I certainly wouldn't want to try it out. But what we do see is that they use a swimming pool in Texas to do all their mock spacewalks in the same spacesuit they claim to be in space with. Now, the pressure of at 40 meters of depth versus the vacuum of space is completely opposite. The spacesuit should look differently and even operate differently under such different conditions. That's the first thing. When you realize that they never showed us the lunar lander working as an operating thing it's like, so you didn't get that thing to work, but you took it all the way to the moon and thought, oh, well, we'll just see, it'll probably work when we get there. And they just got lucky 6 times. And they didn't bother taking a photograph of Earth, or series of photographs, or why not a video of the Earth from the moon when they could take golf clubs up there? And a dune buggy. They could take that up there, but not a camera that would film for 6 hours while they were on the surface and say, let's watch a quarter of the Earth's rotation. And you'll be able to see the stars in the background and so on. When those 3 men came back from the moon landing, I saw the interview and I was like, bang, these guys are lying, because they are not coming at it from passion. You know, like if Lewis Hamilton wins the Formula One championship, right? He's so full of passion when he speaks like that, because he went through it.
The moon is tightly locked to the Earth, which means even if I were to go to the moon and watch the Earth for 6 hours, for 12 hours, for 24 hours, I wouldn't see any rotation. And I could go tonight and look at the moon, and whenever I look at the moon, I can look at the moon in the year, and it would look the exact same. Okay. Because of the tidal.
Have you noticed how the moon rolls like this in the sky?
No.
So you haven't been looking that hard. Okay, so the moon physically rolls clockwise in the northern hemisphere and anti-clockwise in the southern hemisphere. I've observed this with my own eyes.
Why is the moon spherical?
Whoa. No. I'm not saying it's a sphere. I see a round disc, but I don't know that it's a sphere. So that's the first thing. I think it's a light, but a bulb is like a sphere, or you could say it's a sphere, but it could just be like a light like this, So the idea that it's a sphere is yet to be proven. But that doesn't make any difference. Just because the football's round doesn't make the stadium round.
I get it now. So what you're saying, technically speaking, is the Earth without the dome piece, as you will, is technically flat without it, right?
Well, no. Okay, so think about it.
So the dome piece is actually like a home, as you will.
Yeah. Well, is it round like a ball? I suggest just looking at fruit. That makes sense. But some people say it could be an infinite plane, and so I don't know that. There are some interesting things once you get into looking at this. You go, okay, the weather systems, if you look at the flat Earth map, the typical flat Earth map, the weather systems are unusual in those extremities, and maybe the roof is closer. So a little bit like the Millennium Dome. It could be a dome like that. But I don't hang my hat on what it could be, because I'm only theorizing here. I'm just trying to remove the theories in your mind that cannot be proven. They think that do not stand up.
Well,
so the idea
gravity is already proven to exist, because like other martial artists, I'll give you an example.
Mathematical theories, I've just said to you.
Bruce Lee was actually, I think it's either Bruce Lee or Jackie Chan, either one of them were actually able to stand on air and use it as a staircase in order to grab hold of something quite literally high that even the average human being couldn't achieve. If that makes sense. How do you explain that?
Yeah.
It's proven that martial artists can actually, in fact, use gravity in order to.
What? I thought gravity was pulling us down.
Do you not believe in gravity?
No. It could also be used. It could also be used to actually jump.
You know what?
In other words, you're using the air.
Bruce Lee said, "Be like the teapot," right?
Sorry?
Be like the teapot.
I've demonstrated you several times with gravity. You still don't believe in gravity.
No. I said much earlier on, Josh, that I was willing to accept that you dropping something that you already picked up was the expression of, if you want to call it gravity, although I say it's the density of the item in this medium. Because if you dropped a foot, if we were standing in a pool of water right now and you dropped a football, would it hit the floor?
What, in the swimming pool?
Yeah.
It would actually bounce back onto the mid-air.
So it's going to. It's not gravity gives up on it because the density of the environment, the medium, has changed. So you can take a test tube and put 5 different liquids, washing up liquids, oil. This is great. This is great. You can take oil and water and washing up liquid and other soaps and things and put them into a test tube, and they will all settle at their own level of buoyancy, right? Do you understand that?
That's called emulsification. If you put an oil, if you put oil inside.
No, if you mix them, that's emulsifying.
Yeah.
But now I'm saying how they will separate. and they will separate in strata. And the gases do the same thing as that. They separate in strata. But you can drop into that same test tube 3 or 4 different objects. Some will go all the way to the bottom. Some will stop part way down.
It depends on the
depending
mass of the object. doesn't
No,
it?
it depends on the
Liquid or gas.
density and the
Same
environment's
thing.
buoyancy.
Density or mass is the same idea, isn't it?
So that is not that doesn't require gravity. That just requires different mediums in which you are existing. Either we're in this air which is thin, or we're in water and our heads are bobbing above the water.
Well, air is obviously not contracted to the Earth because air is not very dense.
It's
very-
not contracted
it's
or
like a gas.
contacted. You mean?
Well, it's like a gas, isn't it? It floats in the air. It's
But then how is it being? How do
Something
you
that
then
has more
square
weight,
that
has
with?
more
Were you also
gravity,
saying that
more
the Earth
atoms
is
attached to it?
Were you also saying and agreeing with this nonsense that the atmosphere is being dragged along as the Earth rotates?
I believe it's the moon that
so
makes
if
the
the
Earth
Earth
move.
is spinning, the atmosphere
That
could
makes
just
sense.
stay where it is.
The atmosphere can't stay where it is. You see, in
we
your
have
models,
winds, don't we?
yes, but
Wind, where
those
does
winds
that
are
come
not
from?
associated with the rotation.
Where does weather come from?
That's another question, but
No,
they're
no,
not
no. It's just
associated
saying that
to
the
the rotation.
atmosphere doesn't move. But where does
No,
That's what
in
I'm
line
saying.
with the spin of the Earth. Let's not get into weather,
right.
because of course we have
So
high
I was
and low
talking about
pressure.
weather and stuff.
But the
talking about
atmosphere.
rain and
No, hold
sun.
on, Josh. You're saying that the atmosphere, in one breath, you're saying that the atmosphere is not connected to the Earth, and in the next breath, it is connected such that the body of atmosphere above me is moving in lockstep with
Well,
the
I
Earth beneath
believe
me.
that the weather forecast, if it rains tomorrow, might rain tomorrow. How does that happen if the atmosphere doesn't move? Do you believe the atmosphere moves or not? No, seriously, no. So that's a good question.
I know that winds
How
exist,
does the rain
and in some places
happen?
in the world you get the northeaster or the northwester, and they tend to come from the same direction in that place. But that, if you look at those, that doesn't square with, that's all to do with Earth rotation. And if it was the case, then we would still have this issue of an aircraft is flying up into what you say is a body of air moving with the Earth at 1,000 miles an hour, and it's trying to fly into that oncoming air that's moving at 1,000 miles an hour. None of that makes sense.
In other words, it's the air that the plane's moving in that keeps it afloat.
Sorry?
It's the air that the plane moves in that keeps it afloat.
Well, it can make it buoyant by reducing the amount of weight that it's carrying, essentially by creating that movement over air. But the point is that if the air column is what you weren't here, but other people were saying that the Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, and the air column is also moving at 1,000 miles an hour above us. But if that were true, then a plane flying against the rotation would be fighting against this 1,000 mile an hour wind, which of course is not possible. We don't do 1,000 mile an hour winds. We have 100 mile an hour wind would be an insane storm. That would be really bad. But 1,000 miles an hour, and again,
Who says
if
that
you
there's
spin.
1,000 mile an hour wind?
I'm saying that if the Earth is moving at 1,000 miles an hour, which of
Well,
course
it's
it's
about
not.
700.
I think a load of
Around 700. I don't know, actually. I think it's about 700.
A load of scientists
Look into it.
have already proven now that the Earth isn't flat. There are videos online
I know
actually
it's slowing
showing that
down,
the
though.
Earth
I know
isn't
the
flat. I'll
Earth is
just
slowing
explain.
down.
What's your evidence?
There's videos online,
Videos
from
online?
NASA and all other scientists, as you will, claiming now that the Earth isn't actually in fact flat. How do you explain it?
They're saying that it is flat.
No, they're saying it's not. How do
Oh,
you
well, of
explain
course.
that?
They're trying to debunk it and keep their lie going. So you know they never went to the moon. They lied to mankind about that, right?
The type of person that would like to hear both sides of the story, if that
Alright.
makes sense, before making any
Yeah.
assumptions. So I would like to hear what they have to say and what
Yeah.
you have to say,
Yeah.
and use spiritual discernment in order to discern just exactly who's telling the truth and who's lying, if
Okay.
that makes sense.
Okay.
Therefore, I can work with whatever information I pick up
Yeah.
that so happens to be true and
Yeah.
contribute to that in order to
Yeah.
help awaken
Good,
yourself
good.
or anybody
Yeah.
else for that matter.
Well, I mean, I think when you know you're on the right track, you're not trying to make excuses for things that you can't prove yourself.
Right.
So, for example, I say there's no measurable curvature over water. You say, but I've seen a ship go over water. And I say, but we can explain how that might be an optical illusion,
yeah.
rather than this is definitely going over. I say, the ship's going downhill. Is it going to come back uphill? And then all things cogs turn in the mind to say, oh, well, no, it's not really going to do that. It's going to do something else, etc.,
Cognitive dissonance, that's what we need around here. We need more cognitive dissonance.
I think we have so much.
At the
of it.
equator,
I think we need more of it, if
spins
anything,
at
because
1,000
it helps, like I said, awaken people's souls to the truth, Like, in other words,
that's why
you're
I'm doing this, because I'm
opening
trying to
doors.
awaken people's up.
Yeah.
And the government have been doing everything through a guy called Professor Dave and a few other actors. They do what they can to continue it's very easy when you're like in Josh's state of mind to go, look, this is the reaffirmation of what we believe to be true. But when you find out that all the photos of Earth are CGI, or at best they're taking data and they've turned them into a composite image, there's no photographs admitted of Earth. And the one that they gave of the moon rise or the Earth rise from the moon has to be fake. They never went.
That's nonsense.
And that's
they
been
take
shown.
photographs on Google Maps, and my friend's car is on that. So say it's not
Google Maps. Oh, no. Well, hold on. There's two parts to the Google Map, to Google Earth. The first part, when you zoom out of it, and I'm sure you're smart enough to realize, that's not a photo of Earth. That's just a composite or computer image. As you get to about 100,000 feet, maybe 50,000 feet, depending on where you live, all of a sudden it resolves into real image. That's why I've looked at it quite closely. So what they do is they take drones or high-level aircraft, spycraft as you might call them. They fly these over and they just film strips of data.
What is your source of information, if I might ask?
I use the internet. What is yours?
Yeah, because obviously, like, the internet is not a bad thing, but there are some things on the internet that are just people's
And you're going to
opinion.
tell me that I don't have the discernment to work this out. Once I realize, remember, I
I'm saying
used to
that
be
you
in
have
your belief system, brother. I used to be part of the NASA religion. I've been to one of the Cape
Not
Space
religious in that
Canaverals.
sense.
Oh, it
I
is
don't worship
religion.
NASA.
Trust me. I used to be
The
an
only
atheist.
God that I worship
I was
is
an
Jesus,
atheist.
and that's it.
You can still
You
gain.
worship
any other
Jesus.
gods, yeah.
You can still gain information without like having.
I believe in Jesus.
And what about evolution?
Evolution.
Not necessarily true. Well,
Not necessarily true.
microevolution.
You mean
could be.
speciation?
Microevolution.
Yeah, so
small
like
changes within a
minor
species,
variation. But you didn't come from apes.
Adapting
No,
no,
You
see,
didn't come from apes.
that's
I
already
don't believe
proven
that,
now.
no.
That's already proven now to be man-made.
because we can't create anything but our own kind.
Right, and so no ape ever. But you know that the mainstream science that took.
But they'll say micro changes, won't they? So it's not like a monkey to a
you're,
human.
again,
it's
you're
like
trying to
a
help them
monkey
out of
to
a hole.
a-
But there is a massive
Well,
hole.
I'm trying to
If
say
you're a
what they say,
believer in
yeah.
Jesus
Yeah.
and you still trying to excuse the deceivers from this idea that we came from apes, don't do it, son. You should not be excusing these people. They are lying to you about Jesus, and they are lying to you about your connection to God. I believe that the spark of Jesus or Christ is in you. But this system of evolution, of Big Bang, which came from a Catholic
Well,
priest,
Big Bang is different. Yeah, I don't believe
all
in
of
Big
this,
Bang at all,
well,
no.
because it's like saying
There's
God
obviously
threw a
sufficient
grenade
theory before the
into
Big Bang,
a
but it
scrapyard and hoped a Ferrari would come out the other side. No, you were created on purpose, intentionally.
I also don't believe in like millions of years and all that stuff either.
Good.
No,
So there's a
because
lot of
there's
this
no way to
there's
prove
stuff.
that, like,
There's plenty of people on your camp who would say no, these things are true.
Yeah, but they
Evolution
haven't
is true.
investigated.
Big
They
Bang is
just
true.
believe what they've been told.
I believe the evolution.
I used to
that-
believe it was true at one point.
The
I've
too.
investigated it, haven't it?
The evolution we ought to be following as God's creation is, technically speaking, you're born again at baby birth, spiritually that is, and psychologically. And within time, let's say, I don't know, for example, a year
Do you
or
believe
2
in
years,
Jesus and
3
God?
years,
No.
you tend to slowly grow, age,
Yeah.
like a fine wine,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
blossom as an old soul.
I
if
like
that makes
that.
sense.
I
So
like that.
That, right there is
Yeah.
the real evolution, because
Yeah.
we've gone from being a baby
Yeah.
spiritually
Yeah.
to putting away
The
childish
evolution of the
things.
soul.
Yeah,
Yes.
in order to grow
now,
and evolve.
this is
yeah.
why I got off my sofa in 2015-16, was when I realized that our souls were being misled such that we would raise our children on evolution, on Big Bang, on this is a random mistake that dinosaurs had to go away to make space for mankind to be here. None of that is true. It was created on purpose by this divine creator, and I believe absolutely there's a God. The creator of all things, the most magnificent, whatever, Allah. It doesn't matter to me the English
No
names
such
that
thing,
we use.
no such thing as
that
other
there is
gods,
that
or
there is
Allah for that matter.
there is one
There's only one
source,
God, and that is
if you like.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, again, I mean, the Jesus name, remember the letter J is only 600 years old.
Yeah,
So even that
Greek.
name,
I know
some
the
people
Greek
say
alphabet,
it's
yeah.
Yahweh or Yahushua. And
Yeah,
all that.
Elohim, all that. Yeah.
Elohim.
Yeah.
And Elohim was also the Jewish name for God, So I think
The alphabets in Greek and Hebrew are different. That's why there's J.
Yeah, so we don't know for sure that there isn't a pyramid scheme going up to God. That this is the bottom of the
Yeshua
pyramid,
is
and
like
at the top is
Joshua.
God, but
Jesus
in
is
between of
Joshua
that, there's
as well,
something
so-
else.
I believe the
makes sense.
pharaohs
Jehovah
were
is
actually
even Joshua
connected
as
to
well.
the pyramid scheme, if that makes sense. Go back to the pharaoh time when God sent Moses to actually demand, that he's set God's creation free. I believe it was the Israelites that were captured, wasn't it?
Do you believe in like the Anunnaki and all that being
I don't
planted on the
believe
earth?
in that, but one
that's
of the
quite
theories,
interesting.
one of the flat Earth extended theories is that we live on a plane, and this little Earth that we're on now is only a small part of it.
Yeah,
and that
I
there
think the
are
main
other.
point-
Let me finish, if I may. Is that there are other land masses that we've never been allowed onto, and on those land masses could be people that we would consider alien, or Anunnaki, or have a higher culture or a higher learning. But to get back to what you were saying, I really resonate with that. And
I believe
for
they're
me-
demonic or
for me-
angelic.
Well, yeah, maybe, but maybe that's to do also with going up into higher realms or whatever. But let me get back to the point about the spiritual journey. I believe that we are meant to be on that. But let's say you're on a spiritual journey, and the devil, or Satan, to use biblical terminology, has cast spells and has thrown in your way all sorts of
Witchcraft and-
impediments,
Yep.
the 7 deadly sins, all of these sorts of
There's
things.
lots of sin in
Well,
the
if
world,
I
we can see it
misinform
around
you,
us.
then you are going to be malformed.
And without spiritual discernment, we would be pretty much trapped and enslaved to his snares.
So, some say that we keep coming back around, because we've got to learn that lesson, we've got to grow and make that soul growth, and until we do that, we will stay in this recycle system. Obviously, I don't know that, but it does seem to me to be quite a sensible or quite a possible scenario, because why the lie? Why go to all this extent to get us to go to war with each other, create division between men, women, black and white, and all of this sort of stuff that has us fighting with each other rather than actually having this beautiful, loving experience, because we come from a loving creator. That's what my DMT.
But if you go back to the Old Testament, even God was known to have orders, upon, or should I say, placed upon those that he would call to actually kill on sight, if that makes sense. To eliminate, if that,
Yeah, I mean, you see, the problem with the Bible, though, is that it has been a lot tampered with. So
absolutely,
it's hard to be like,
That's why
I'll
you've got to
cherry
go
pick
back
that
to
piece.
that's why you've got to go back to the original Hebrews and Scripture to read what the real truth
Yeah, but
is.
even I've discovered from one researcher, a professor, that the language Hebrew can only be traced back for about 600 years.
No,
And so,
the Hebrew is about 1,500 years.
I thought it was 6,000.
Very old, yeah.
Yeah, so even
Hebrew's the oldest
there's so
language
much.
in the world, I think,
Guys, that's why it's the discernment. God wrote the truth on our hearts, and the discernment comes from you.
Our hearts and our minds. Because you could have a heart transformation, but if you don't have a renewal of the mind in order to back that up, you're feminine. In other words, it's game over.
Yeah.
And if you want a feminine wife, a mature feminine wife, you're not going to get her by, falling into your feminine frame.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have the mind aligned with the heart,
that's pretty interesting. It says that.
Yeah, I mean,
some people believe it's that long, but
okay,
only it's about
but
1,000. But
it's not stuff that we can really.
Aramaic is dying out as well. Aramaic.
And I used to say this, it was like, growing up in Africa, it's like, so this Jesus God Bible story could only have been read by a very small number of people over the last millennia in Africa. So what, were they all doomed and or could they still be good people and honorable people without necessarily having that particular book as a guidebook?
No, let's put it this way, people can be good people, but will they be saved? No.
Saved?
That's the most important part, yeah.
Saved by who?
God the Father.
So God came to save all men.
Because I think the Saviour is you.
No. That would be considered idolatry.
I can't save myself.
Saying that we are technically our own Saviour, that is idolatry.
No, I'm putting somebody else as my Saviour is idolatry. Jesus said, "Don't idolize me. You will go and do greater things than I."
Any God before me.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's Old Testament.
Yeah.
No, that's under the Ten Commandments as well. Thou shalt not have any other gods before me.
Yeah, but this Abrahamic God that you're talking about could well be a control. So I don't take my orders from this control. Well, because the Abrahamic faith is Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, right? They all have the same. They all have the same backbone.
You're not repentant of your sins. And you
No.
don't
Well, yeah, because if God wasn't in control, we wouldn't have
we
wouldn't have the power to
should
repent
submit
or
to
do
God
anything
to
like
repent,
that.
Well, okay, so
Hebrews
in
is
this life
control.
experience, people can do pretty much whatever they like. Obviously there's a golden rule of do no harm, but really you should be able to do whatever you like. It's only you that puts your head down on the
Actually,
pillow.
some things we shouldn't do, like sins. Sins
Yeah,
are
we
not
should
sins.
be in.
What kind of sins do you mean? Because there's a
Like
time.
murder.
All
Murder's a
sins.
sin.
No,
All
I
sins.
already
All
said
sins,
do no
actually,
harm.
yeah, all
No, do
sins.
no harm. Well, who's deciding? Because there's some cultures
God
who would
decides
say.
what is and isn't sin.
Yeah.
And he gives us a conscience to know what's right and wrong, doesn't he?
Yeah.
One thing
there
I-
are
Do you know
cultures-
what's right and wrong?
Hello.
Do you know whether it's right or wrong to
Of course.
hit me, for example, that's wrong, isn't it? Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
But
It'd be
then
wrong for me to
the
do it to
sins
you.
can go into other things. That is like, there's what 600 Old Testament, what do you call them? Commandments.
Commandments. I think there was 10.
There's 10.
Yeah, there is 10.
But the Jews have 600 in total, right? From the original.
Well, I don't really mind what the Jews. I don't know what the Jews.
But,
Well, the
but
Jews-
Jesus was a Jew.
Yeah, well, Jesus actually changed from being a Jew to a Christian.
Well, we don't even know actually what the Khazarians are versus
Well,
what
he
the
did
Jews
thing
are.
I've learned-
And the tribe of Israel could be all of us.
One thing I've learned
Well,
is
we're probably Gentiles.
we're
say,
not
actually.
There you go.
technically going to know everything about God or who He is, what He gets up to.
Hmm.
Like, for example, we all go around
We're not
claiming that
subject to
God is this
food laws, for
loving,
example, stuff like
just, mighty God. While there is an element of truth to that, how do we know for certain that He doesn't go to the Old Testament like He did, 6,000 years ago? Because if He's the creator of the heavens and the earth, surely He would go to the Old
And
Testament.
that's your old idea of when you said about God being a control. I would say that God is sovereign over all things.
So for me,
So
Jesus
he has
walked into the
ultimate control
temples,
over everything that
right?
happens,
You'll
takes
know
place.
this is
He knows
right,
what's going to happen. Thanks.
Josh.
Yeah.
Jesus walked into the temples
Yeah.
and turned them over.
Sure.
Agree?
Yeah.
So today, the temples are consumerism, Vatican, government. These are the temples, and I'm standing here as a representative of God, turning those over,
But yeah, you
saying
said
no.
you
This
don't-
is they're all deceiving you. Step
So do you
outside of the
believe in
temple.
Jesus as God then?
No, I think that I think that we are
Might as
all
well.
represent. I used the example of the orange earlier. If you cut that orange open, that orange is God, right? All of it. If you take one tiny little segment out of inside of that orange with its own little skin and stuff, it's perfectly orange, but it's tiny. And I think that's you. That's you. That you are a fractal of Source, expressing yourself in this play field. They call it Minecraft or whatever, the play game that we're in. that's
And
been
within
created.
time, I believe that, like you say, we can grow and evolve, age
But
like
not
a
if you've
fine
got bad
wine, and
influence.
actually grow out
Yeah,
of it.
but if you've got
you know.
vinegar in that casket, then it's going to spoil the wine. You leave it out in the sun, it's going to spoil the wine. So I know for sure that we are coming here with the light of Christ in us, and this system is trying to snuff that out. And that's why the lies. It's to snuff out
my
the light of
question
Christ.
to you is, do you believe in Jesus as God?
Does
That's
that
what
matter?
you need to do.
It does
that
matter.
matter?
It
Does
does.
matter.
Why?
Yeah.
Who said-
Essential to your soul.
Because God the Father is actually, in fact, Jesus Christ incarnate. If you go
So
back to
according to the
2,000
Bible,
years
according
ago.
to the Bible.
No, that's why you were given a conscience along with common
No,
sense.
that's no. Because you know what, the Bible.
You have a free will to choose
the
God or
Bible
not as well.
is given to us by the Vatican. The Bible.
So many people.
One with God.
Yeah.
As I think I
Son,
was
and
wrong.
Holy Spirit.
But in the Bible, it actually says that He is on the Father.
He's
Well, it
one
says
with
In the
I'm
Bible,
Father,
yeah. So again, but
Says
you.
the Father
Well,
is
that's
in me
well.
and I am in the Father. So
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
one with them. They're
Well,
of the
Jesus was
same
God
mind, of the
incarnate,
same
wasn't he?
That's an interesting
wavelengths,
outlook.
of the same perspective. So you can be one with someone if you share so much with them. It can be like you're one with them. You're like a circle.
And I think that our relationship to God is direct. You don't need me. You don't need anybody else to have a direct relationship or rapport with our Creator, right?
No, because
That's
with
how
the
I
Holy
see it.
Spirit, that can actually, come on within time,
Well-
what I've learned, when it comes down to connecting with people, if it's not forced,
Yeah.
and if I tend to get closer to someone like that, it means I'm showing interest
Yeah.
in what you're having to say,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Therefore, there's a genuine connection
yeah,
going
I'm
on.
with you on that. But
between
the
two
Bible
people.
was forced on the people through the Crusades and through other terrible means. The Bible has been forced onto humanity over the last few hundred
Under
years.
man-made religion spells,
Terribly,
culty.
terribly. So to use that book and the Vatican and the Jesuits as somehow that we should hold this up as being the final word of God.
But you were just saying that about you were talking about turning over tables a minute ago, saying that
Yeah.
that was turning over the government. And that's what you're doing in your Jesus in the light.
Yes, and then
you
and the
can't say
Vatican
both
is
things.
part of that.
You
No,
can't,
the
That's
Vatican-
you can't say both
The
things.
Vatican is part of that. What?
That's not what he did.
can't
He
say
didn't
both
turn over the temples. What
Jesus
he did
did.
was they were
turned over-
selling
yeah,
in the
turned over
temples.
tables.
He turned over the tables because
Yeah.
it wasn't a trade. It wasn't a
Yeah,
marketplace.
but he was turning over the governments and the
the house
Yeah,
of God.
yeah. You guys got a
He was
question?
turning over like the churches and what they were teaching and stuff.
Yeah.
He was saying it was
Yeah,
wrong.
yeah, and they are still wrong. They
Yeah.
all locked themselves up in 2020. If we were really
Some churches
trusting,
didn't.
Yeah, very few brave pastors stood up against the tyranny.
Yeah.
But that's not godlike to say I'm going to trust God I say, like I said to the Africans, I said you can't serve two
No, that's
masters.
not right. You should trust in
can't serve-
God for all things to become possible. That's why I trust in God. No matter how hard or how challenging or how difficult
Yeah.
my life gets,
Yeah.
no matter how many times I fall short, no matter how many times I go without, I will always put my trust in God.
Awesome.
Because I know that He will never let me down. He always has a subtle way in speaking to you, whether it's directly through your heart or your mind, or even a vision when you're dreaming.
Yeah. So you have
And
a
that's
direct.
what I love about God.
Well, that's right. You have a direct connection to God, so you don't need really government.
No.
You don't need pharmaceuticals.
So he was godly in his
And you don't
nature.
need your churches locking themselves down so that people who want to worship can't come and worship because they're worried about the flu. If we trust God.
I believe there is a war on man's masculinity at the minute.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
and I believe that there are certain
And the feminine as well.
that as well. Yeah, I believe wholeheartedly that as men, you are allowed as part of your free will to take, say, anti-estrogen blockers, as you will. In other words, they block estrogen levels, high estrogen levels within a man, and it helps him build his testosterone up within time. Therefore, he's going to become more masculine. He's not going to be touchy-feely. He's not going to be expressing his emotions and all of this bollocks like the world wants us to do, Because, like I said, you go to your wife later on after a hard day, cry in front of her and see what happens. I can guarantee you, 100%, she's going to find that shit unattractive within a man.
So why do you think men are becoming like that? Because I think I know, so you don't have to answer, but I think that what you're suggesting, okay, but it's only a response to something else. See, like they did with those rats in the 1970s, they put a rat house, 3,000 rat house, and they put 200 rats in it at the beginning and just let them multiply. And for the first 2 or 3 generations, they had a really good quality of life. By the time they got to the 5th and 6th generation, all sorts of strange behaviors started appearing in the rat colony. Why? Because they were overpopulated, there wasn't enough food, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's what they've done here, is they put shit in our water, they put, who knows, in the air. Our food is so often laced with chemicals nowadays.
See,
this is all...
They've even used a refined, what's the word I'm looking for? Modified, as you will, soy product within our beverages, our foods. And what this false representation of the real thing does is that it does something to the male, the male's body and chemicals, and I believe that it spikes the male's estrogen levels and lowers his testosterone. Henceforth, if you look online, you see men with women parts here. And that's all because of the false soy product that they use within our world.
So again, that's the system is poisoning,
which is
the system.
I tend to stay away from things like that. Yeah.
Let me ask this lady what she wanted to say something.
She has something about your...
I'm filming on YouTube. Don't touch my phone.
I don't want to be filmed.
All right. Well, what do you need to say?
Did you have a question?
Huh? Oh, I thought you'd come to speak. No. Well, I'm standing here filming with this is my stand here. So I heard you saying something about the level of intelligence. I just wondered if you could prove how you live on a
world. I didn't say your level of intelligence. I didn't question your level of intelligence. I can see it comes from an intellectual place. But your level of sanity is what I was questioning.
That's it. So why is it insane to say that those images there, photographs of the sea being level and then from different altitudes still seeing the same level? Why is that insane to you?
Because it's not level, it's curved. Those photos are level, but in actuality, real photos are curved. That's it. Those photos are probably individual, more horizontal.
Is it possible that the photos you're thinking of have been manipulated through a fisheye lens or some other technique?
No, because people go into space and look down on the Earth and see it glowing.
When you say people, people you know? Astronauts. So did you know, I tell people that what would be insane would be to go into the vacuum of space in a spacesuit that has never worked in a space chamber on Earth, in a vacuum chamber on Earth. What do you think of that? Is that insane? You're just going to go into the vacuum of space, but you're never going to bother testing that the spacesuit's perfect, it's going to keep you alive in that vacuum?
Well, they do test them. They test them in similar conditions.
Such as?
simulation of anti-gravity.
No, I'm not talking about gravity, man. I'm talking about a vacuum. A vacuum is a very powerful thing. You know, the NASA has a vacuum chamber that has 8 feet thick walls, and they can't get it up to the level of vacuum that outer space is. And the one time they put a man in a vacuum chamber, his tongue started to boil, and they didn't even get partially
So you don't even believe people go to space?
No, of course not. How can you get out? You see, the thing is...
So you think everything is a lie? The moon landing is a lie? You
Yes,
think
it's hard to believe.
every trip to the moon, every trip in orbit of the Earth is a lie?
Yes.
And
It's
you
hard to
even
believe.
think like the shuttle to...
I used to believe in the shuttle.
Well, that's a whole lot of lies too.
Yes,
That's
it's a grand deception.
that's
It's a grand deception, man. It's a very, very grand deception. And I'm afraid to be the one to break it to you if you haven't looked into it before. But a guy called Bart Sibrel did a really good documentary with 10 of the 12 astronauts from the Apollo missions. It's called A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon. And the second one he did is called Astronauts Gone Wild. And you can go and watch these documentaries for yourself. And if that doesn't spark questions, it's because you're not wanting to look at what went on.
I'm the most open-minded person you could ever meet.
Really? So then calling me insane or whatever.
I've looked at a lot of conspiracy theories, some I've believed, and most I've debunked.
All right.
And this is one I've debunked.
Well, you know that water is always level when it rests. We can't prove it to start to curve. And it's this formula of curvature that really caught my attention in the 2015s. Like, I lived by the sea growing up, and I could not see the curvature that they're talking about. I could see much further, and they're saying that should already be over the side of the ball, over the edge of the ball. So that was one of the first things that caught my attention. Which one? This one here?
Yeah.
Why do you say that's fake?
Because it's too level. There would be
It's too level. That's what we see. You take a thing to 120,000 feet. If you take a hot air balloon, as we've done, or a weather balloon to 120,000 feet, that's what you see. Now, when you've got a big camera lens and it wobbles like this over the horizon, you can get the horizon to kind of curve, but it will go both ways. It's curving both ways, actually. So, no, that's what you see. And in fact, Neil deGrasse Tyson, who you might have, if you believe in all this, you might have heard of Neil deGrasse Tyson, he's on record saying that on a plane you're not high enough to see curvature.
And so what do you suppose is at the edge of the Earth and you just fall off?
You're getting desperate now, eh?
Well, it's ridiculous
Why don't you just
concept.
fall off the underside of a globe? I was going to say gravity. Because a pencil falls down, you can now have in your mind, I used to too, but just because a pencil falls on the floor, which I picked up in David Force, potential energy, doesn't mean that things are now going to stick to the underside of my desk.
So you don't believe in gravity?
No, I believe in buoyancy and density, that we have a certain buoyancy in the environment, and depending on the density in the medium. So if we go in a swimming pool now, we're always going to be floating ahead above the water. Why? Because we're a bit buoyant in water. But if I empty my lungs, I can get my body to go down to the bottom of the pool. That's got nothing to do with gravity, it has to do with my buoyancy in that thick air, thick water. Now, if I take a helium balloon and keep it in the balloon and let it go up, why? Of course it's going to go up. Why? Because it's less dense than the air around it.
Well, it's the air that pushes it down.
No, it's the gravity that's pulling it down, according to your theory. What theory that we meant to believe. It's the gravity pulling it. And now we're told that once the helium balloon gets to 50,000 or 100,000 feet, it's going to cost or it's going to become equalized, and it's going to stay at that level. And that's what has nothing to do with gravity. Gravity wasn't holding it down here, it's probably reaching it up to 100,000 feet or so. But thermodynamics, there are laws of thermodynamics that cannot be broken. You know, if I puncture my deodorant can, every one of us intelligently knows that canister is going to equalize instantly. You know that, right? You know that. You puncture the deodorant can, boom, instant equalization with the surrounding environment. If I punctured it inside of a pressurized environment, then maybe I could get it to stay inside the can. But I would have to get the pressure to be equal to the pressure inside as well as outside. So if we live in a world that has no roof, then that atmosphere should be ripped off in a split second.
Did you ever hear of the theory where if you drop a feather or a hammer at the same time, they will hit the ground at the same time? If you take away all the air pressure and you do that inside a vacuum where there is no air pressure, they will hit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that that's necessarily proves that we're on a globe and that the sea can be attracted to the underside of the ball. and the Nile River is running up the side of a globe. That's insane. It has to run, rivers run from the top down to the sea, and every time they hit a lake, that lake will be horizontal.
It's insane to think of flat rails.
Why is it so insane? If you think about it,
Well, how
topography.
do you get to Australia then?
Oh, here's the United Nations logo, by the way, over here, is the flat Earth map. I've got. You've not come across this? Alright, well.
I'm not staying here.
Alright, well, I didn't come across this until 2015. I was already 47, so I'd raised children on the idea that they were evolved.
Do you take drugs?
Living off a globe. But what I discovered is that there's no experiment on Earth that can prove that we're spinning divine. There's no experiment on
Take
Earth.
a picture. I'm going to research it.
Please do. And did you get one of that one as well?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. Hey, Squirrel. How are you, man? Today's been, let's say, well, it is, what, judging by the London demos in the past few days, I'm not aware of any in, I'm not, hey Dr. Law, nice to see you, Viking. Cat 14. It's been a little bit difficult. Oh, it's a new, Rain, Mr. Plum. Earth is flat, not a spinning ball. See my banners here, I've got new ones coming, and hopefully they're going to be a little bit more on point. Not that, I mean, the information on these is good. Earth is flat, not a globe. We've been lied to about where we live and who we are. You need the government to believe in gravity and density, NASA to believe that we went to the moon, and that outer space is fake. Earth is flat, guys.
I believe
Earth is flat.
to be fair.
All right.
I do.
Nice
I'm
one.
a believer as well.
Sweet. Yeah, well, we know that water's level. Water's level. There you go. But it's interesting. He doesn't probably talk to his friends about it. Yeah, Earth is flat, not a globe. They miss teaching us in school. I'm sorry to say. I don't really like having the kids do it. The teachers get paid a lot more money than I do to turn them up on Monday, and mislead them. Earth is flat, not a spinning rock. Rocks don't float. Space is fake. Space is fake by NASA and Disney. If you believe in NASA, you should know that NASA and Disney work hand in hand. Why does Disneyland and NASA work together? Because they fake outer space. It's all Hollywood, and it's all done by CGI. There is no proof we ever went to the moon, and the International Space Station is in a swimming pool. It's in a swimming pool. That's why the spacesuit has never been tested in a vacuum chamber. Go and look it up for yourself. Satellites are fake. Go look up satellites in space. All of them are cartoons. Satellites in space do not exist. Things do not float in the sky unless they are held aloft by helium or some powered engine. Water is level. Sea is level. Your glass of drink will be level until you spill it. Water must be contained, and it will always find its level. Starting to build up a bit of a head of bladder, actually. And that'll be quite level in there until I move. You cannot spin a rock with water on it and get the water to stick to the rock. It's impossible. Water must be contained. These are the basic laws of science. I wonder if I got into trouble today with some of the stuff I was talking about to do with that agenda. Don't trust the government. The government's not here to help you. The government is here to jail you, to be your jailer. That's why they locked you down in 2020, told you to stay home. You can't go out, you don't have permission to go out anymore because your government owns your ass. The government owns you, that's why you will pay the taxes you will pay. That's why you will pay the penalties for doing silly things to corporations who are dead. Dead corporations ruling God's living man and woman. You've given up your freedom. You've allowed them to mandate your freedoms away. Your liberty has been taken. Liberty is actually a shipping thing, isn't it? So it's freedom from the ship. There will be more mandates to come. I hate to be a doomsday teller, but I think there will be more mandates. You already proven to the government 99% of people went home and locked themselves and their children up, vaccinated themselves simply because daddy government told them to do so. You should not need a daddy government because you are meant to be master of your own ship. But instead of that, you will be part of a belief system that has you thinking you evolved from apes and that you live on a Big Bang inspired by the Catholic Church, lucky Goldilocks zone planet in a vacuum. None of this makes sense in testable physical science. None of this makes sense. Water is always level. Prove me otherwise. Don't offer me a teardrop. You cannot live on a teardrop. And once a teardrop falls to the ground, it will be level. But it will pool and then run downhill until it finds the next level.
Good luck, mate.
Thank you very much. Until it finds the next level. There, it will overflow and run downhill until it gets to sea level. Horizontal, horizon, sea level. These are all things that we can test for ourselves. But curving water? There's no evidence of water curving unless it's in a bowl. The surface of the bowl will be level. The surface of your bath will be level. Make that bath 10 billion times bigger. It's not going to start curving. It will be level still. The biggest lakes on earth are level bodies of water because all water will level. I've got a bitter taste in my mouth. I'm not sure if it's this place or just the energies of the day. I think there are other... when I left home today, I said to Vic, oh, it's an hour drive, maybe we should just go to Glastonbury. And I have to say, I made the decision I made, but... Earth is flat, not a spinning rock. It's just not the thoroughfare. This is their high street. This is the busiest place in town. Earth is not a spinning ball. You cannot live on the outside of a spinning ball. That is complete poppycock. Designed to minimize you and keep you in the slave mind, to keep you believing that you evolved from apes and that you need a master, granny government, that you need granny government to take care of you. When in fact you are God's creation and you should have no master above you. We are the center of creation, not some lucky random strike Catholic Big Bang evolved ape that just happens to be lucky enough to have a good government who takes our money and pays for our wars. All of that is designed to keep you at war with mankind so that we never come together. Girl versus boy, black versus white, English versus French. Let me ask these folks, can you prove you live on a spinning rock, folks?
Yes, I do.
How do you prove that to yourself, ma'am?
I read information.
You read information, but you don't have any proof yourself.
Apollo coming back.
Apollo coming back, that's easily been proved. Watch a funny thing happen on the way to the moon. The documentary where you can see for sure how they faked it. But we all need a little bit of Disney. We all need a little entertainment to keep us trapped in this prison. I'm live streaming. I'm not filming you, but I'm live streaming on Trinity 4 on YouTube. If you want to tell your friends at school on Monday that you met a guy who says the earth is flat.
We are from Spain.
You're from Spain. La terra piatta. No, la terra plana. Yeah, is that good? Spanish? La terra plana? Tierra plana? Tierra plana. Cool. I'm not very good at Spanish at all. But I did go to Spain in 2019 on a tour trying to tell people La terra plana. Here's one of my flyers.
No, thanks.
No?
No.
No? Okay. Have a good life though. Did you fly here on a plane or did you come on a ship? You came on a plane. Okay. Do you think the plane went down? Or did it come just flat across from Spain?
Down.
It went down. So when you go back to Spain, is it going to go up?
Yes.
Yes? Can you prove that?
No.
What's a good... You know what a gyroscope is? A gyroscope is what the pilot uses. He knows when the plane is going up or down. You know that the gyroscope is set at the beginning, and when he lands at the other end, it's the same flat. We fly, it's called aeroplane. We fly over a flat plane, but the plane's not going down and it's not going up. Once you get to cruising for 2 hours, all right, I'll leave it there. Goodbye. Ciao. Hey, well, any Spanish contingent there might be able to interpret what they were saying, but that's the extent of my Spanish is about that. Nice dog. Earth is flat. You can't walk up the side of a globe. Rivers don't fly up the side of Africa. Earth is flat. Spanish, eh? Who would have thought it? Tierra plana, Earth is flat, not a spinning rock.
French.
Earth is flat.
French.
French. To say Earth is flat.
Hello.
Hello. Bonjour. 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 Hey. Avec. Hey, hello. Earth is flat, by the way. La Tierra plana. Earth is flat. Look. Earth is flat. Earth is flat. No. The water runs off globes. The foreign student action there. It's gritty on the streets today. I could do with someone try to put a bit of water down. Lady over there. Earth is flat, ma'am. Any questions? Yes.
No.
Sorry. Earth is flat, by the way.
Well, don't tell me where the edge is and I can just walk off.
That's a simple one. Haven't you looked into this yourself? No one thinks there's an edge in the flat Earth. Thinking
there isn't an edge.
No, but if we lived on a globe, then there would be edges all over it, unless you were right on the pinnacle. You can try and balance on a ball, but standing on the side of a ball, impossible, except for gravity, a theory. So what I say to people...
I'm not entirely convinced, so please, I don't want you to waste your time. But on the other hand...
A cube, yes. Well, we might be in a cube. But like I say it's like an orange. If you think about nature abhors anything that isn't like follow sort of easy lines. So it likes oranges and apples and pears and watermelons, right? All of them have a skin, yes, bark or a skin or a peel or a shell, yes, every one of them, except this earth apparently. So nature does everything with a skin except this earth. Now I say it has to have a skin, it has to have a peel, it has to have a container. If it didn't have that container, we would be destroyed in a
gravity,
second.
isn't it?
But gravity is an idea, so that can't, my dear, like the helium balloon doesn't feel gravity. It flies up against it. So does the hot air. So does the steam from the train.
You're a clever boy. You give me something to think about.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
I just want to go off the end.
Oh, don't do that. It's impossible. You can't get past the 70th parallel. Don't you know about the Antarctic Treaty?
No, really?
Yes, you're saved from that. Good day. Earth is not a spinning rock. We've been lied to about where we live.
Pardon?
Earth is not a spinning rock. We don't live on a planet in vacuum of space. That's all been made up to trick you to believe in monkeys and evolution.
Okay. Well, I'm happy with what we got, however
You're happy with that, but you don't mind being lied to? This is more important. Deceived. For at the end, the majority will be deceived, is what they say. Yeah, now the bladder is really knocking on the door. I don't know what's happened to my son, who's done a runner from me. It hasn't been easy for my son to see me today being heckled as much as I have. And it has been a pretty heckling kind of day. So, that's how it goes sometimes, eh? But, take a loo break. Thanks. I could take a lead break. But it's a little bit, I'll be honest, a little bit disheartening on a day like today. And that's probably got part to do with my own energies today and energies in the environmental world today. So I'm not like, oh, well, I can't do this. I feel more inspired. And I was, obviously, if you later this stream, I was being heckled pretty hard by a guy just pointing his finger at me saying, "You're a liar, you're lying, you're lying." I'm like, so show me which part of this is the lie. No, this, the GPS stuff is a lie. This is a lie, you know. Airy was debunked, you know, so we don't get taught airy. Oh, here you go. I was just thinking of calling it quits. Guys, we don't live on a spinning rock. We've been deceived about where we live. NASA is part of the Disney production that keeps your mind small and enslaved. Yes, you have been enslaved, but you don't mind because such is the nature of the Stockholm syndrome that the devils are so. Folks, we've been lied to. We don't live on a spinning rock. Earth is flat, not a ball in the vacuum of space. Believe the NASA propaganda all you like, but it's easy to disprove the moon landings. The International Space Station is the international fake station, and it proves that all countries are working together even though they pretend to be at war. Yeah, it has calmed down quite a lot, yeah. And I'm kind of gagging for a wee, but I don't want you to stand here without me. So I think Earth is flat, friends. We've been lied to. I'm sorry to say that NASA is the biggest religion on Earth. Most people believe in NASA even though they will never go to space themselves. And even Buzz Armstrong says we never went to the moon. Sorry to be calling your religion out. Sorry to be calling your religion out, but your belief system will make you react quite strongly against this information. Water is always level, and there's no physical scientific experiment that shows we're moving, that the Earth is moving. That does not happen. This guy looks a little bit like CC. Chris. From New York, Westchester County. What keeps that deodorant can intact? Thermodynamics says that if we can keep it contained, it'll stay in there forever. But if I break the seal, then it will equalize with the pressure around us. Yeah. That's the only thing in nature, this globe, that has no seal. It's the only thing in nature that debunks that law of thermodynamics. Yes, another day in paradise. Earth is not a spinning rock. NASA fake space. NASA is the biggest belief system on Earth. It's probably bigger than the Vatican. Probably bigger than Christianity. That more people believe that rocks can float in space. And that water is curving around a ball. Water curving around a ball is absolutely impossible. You take a ball, put water on it, will the water stay on the side? No, it will run off the bottom, obviously. But gravity, this theory, is what's given as an excuse as to why we could possibly be living on a spinning space rock. Rocks don't float, and the sun is not a burning ball of gas, it is a small light in the sky. Water levels, Earth is flat, we don't live on a globe. We do not live on a spinning rock. We do not live on a spinning rock, but trust your government if you must. Trust the government rather than your own God-given senses. Your God-given senses will tell you that your earth is not moving, just like it says in the Bible. Earth is set upon pillars and not moving. There is a roof that contains us. This is a protective habitat for you to grow your soul, but you would rather give it away To the devils at NASA. Wow, did you see how angry that guy got? He didn't tell me his name. But when he was like, this is the most egregious lie for him. This was it. Oh, you're just spreading lies. Oh, you mean because I'm calling them liars, that makes me the liar. But just ignore how this works. Earth is flat, not a spinning rock. We do not live in a vacuum of space. That cannot happen. That cannot happen. Okay, I think it's 3 hours now, and I'm probably going to end the stream, guys. Oh yeah, right, run Boston there. Yeah, it's cool. Luxembourg. Yeah, I think so. I think it's a good time to end it and say thank you for watching. It's been gritty for me today. I haven't enjoyed it that much, to be honest with you. And yeah, I don't mind that people are challenging it. It's just that there hasn't been those positive conversations I've had in other places. You've seen that video we just uploaded about that with that lady from Chrome who was so positive. So you've got to take the good with the bad. Yeah, the good with the bad. So I will say goodbye for now, and I'll see you guys again in the not too distant. Yeah. Who was on the summit? Thank you. Oh yeah, I heard about that summit. You know, oh, someone taking a picture. Come take another picture. Come take a picture. Take a picture. Take a picture.
Yeah, it's totally totally fake. The world is round, but
Now, when you say that's totally fake, can you be specific with me? Do you mean this?
I mean, technically, yeah, that's fake because all projections of a globe in 2D space is not going to work.
Okay, but it is possible, because we've looked at flight routes on this map, and a lot of flight routes that are these big, like dog's legs on a globe, they tend to be straight lines on this United Nations logo map. So for me, like the idea that it's all, like for example, southern flights, you know, from South Africa to Australia or South America to Australia, they don't make sense. Like if you're on a globe, you just kind of fly underneath the globe, and that would be the quickest way to get there. But we tend to see lots of flights flying all the way into the northern hemisphere to get back down into the southern hemisphere. So that doesn't really.
That's a straight line on the globe.
No.
Yes, it is, but...
No, it's not. But before you run off, this is NASA's image of Earth from space, right? This is their image, official. And here, America is way bigger than the next time round. That doesn't matter to you?
Not particularly in the grand scheme of things. If this is what you want to dedicate your life to, you're perfectly welcome to do that.
You don't mind being lied to. If I'm right, you don't mind being lied to.
Hello. Not particularly because the Earth being flat or the Earth being round doesn't really affect my life in a meaningful way when there are so many other things in the world that are going wrong. So. But
this is why I think that you're wrong, because I think that you are the center of creation, and that the reason
I'm not the center of creation because I'm a pagan and I don't believe that the Earth was created by one specific god. So.
Okay, but do you think that we evolved from apes?
Yes, I do, and I have a master's degree in evolution. So.
Wow, so you're definitely not going to like me saying that there is a missing link there, isn't there? And we only see speciation. We don't see evolution. So answer this question.
That is literally the same thing, but
why
obviously you don't have the education to understand
or
that.
I could say indoctrination, to be unkind, if you want to be unkind. But because I can study without going to university, right? You don't need a teacher to tell you what to study. You can do your own research on subjects of interest.
Yeah.
So I would ask you, what have you learned in your studies about partially evolved apes that are almost human?
Quite a lot actually, because I did my master's dissertation on it. So if you really wanted me to talk about it, I can spend about 10 hours.
But is there any animal that you can point to now that's half ape and half human?
No, because that's not how our evolution works. But it's actually really fascinating. So you might count Homo erectus as half ape, half human in a certain way because it's really early Homo. But they show all the hallmarks of modern humans because they are compassionate. We have all sorts of different technology from them, and of course it's not nearly as advanced as what we've got now, but have you ever made a stone tool yourself?
A stone tool?
Yeah, flint hand axe. They are really complicated technology.
Yeah.
You might not think so, but they
Yeah.
really are.
Yeah.
And so they show intelligence in a way that our modern understanding, just the way it's taught to people in primary schools, secondary schools, well, it's not really taught. They are really much more complex than we imagined. And we see the evolution of humans from Australopithecines through. It might not be perfect, because of course it's not, but the amount of evidence that we have for slow gradual change across species is amazing.
Okay.
And
what's your name?
my name isn't really
Okay. I just wanted to relax you because you seem quite nervous right now.
Oh,
so I just want to relax you a little bit, and because I'm not here to fight with you. All I want to do is to give you that. I came through all the same education that you did. I may not have gotten a master's in evolution, but I was an atheist up until, and I raised my older children on the Darwin theories. Totally. I grew up. I spent 20 years near Darwin's house. So I was very proud of all of that, things. But I then came across things like 12-foot skeletons that had been of man.
have you seen them in person?
No. But when it comes to a lot of that, there's a lot of stuff that you're going to have to repeat to me that you've not seen in person. So I know that
that's true.
we are, like the same with the dinosaur stuff. The dinosaur stuff started in about 1830, something like that, and they start with one tooth. The first dinosaur is imagined from finding a single tooth. You see, so it's very possible that this stuff could be manufactured. In fact, most of the dinosaurs...
It can't be manufactured. Sure, many are replicas, but the amount of evidence we have is just like...
Okay.
massive.
Well, I would say, because what I've studied is that there were bigger animals here on Earth, but I think there were also bigger men. And that
There
when we
weren't
look
bigger
at the,
people.
There weren't bigger people?
Purely because there's too much gravity. Like the gravity ratio, our spine is just not designed for anything much bigger. Have you seen those people with gigantism?
Yes.
That are really tall.
Yes.
But they have
Yes.
to use crutches.
Yeah. That's an
and-
aberration, though. That's not really normal.
Yeah, exactly.
So
that's not normal. But
but I'm talking about, you see, because when you look at, say, for example, like buildings from 600, 700 years ago, you look at those buildings and you see that they were building much taller, for much taller people, much bigger doorways. Yes, like that one. Mm-hmm. Much bigger doorways. But I've looked all over Europe and found so much evidence that the people that were building these were possibly bigger. Why? Because the moment we build our ceilings to deal with a 6-foot man, and then maybe a 7-foot man. But why would you build, if you were simple people with horse and cart, why would you build massive doorways that could take a 20-foot man and ceilings that could account for
why
that?
would you build a cathedral if not to just demonstrate what you can build? It's not about...
And we can't build that today. Did you know that? Do you know we can't build the pyramids today? We couldn't, even if we wanted to. No, you're pretty sure. But you know what? The Chinese tried a 1/6 model and they gave up. They could not get it right, and they couldn't. No, you can't shrug your shoulders. That's not very intelligent. That's not how you pass this school. Is not to shrug your shoulders. Say, that's a good question. Like, how is it really that we've got buildings on Earth today that were built by people that were smaller and simpler, and yet we wonder at them, we marvel at them, and we go, wow, that's incredible. How did they do it? We can't do it today.
Well, you posit that. I will go and try it. I'm getting a PhD in experimental archaeology, and I will come back and I will build something.
Awesome. Well, then you've got to take my flyer.
I can take your
Otherwise,
flyer,
you'll never be
but-
able to find me again.
Sure.
Because I only happen to be
But-
visiting this town one day. But
I
I go
will-
around trying to inform people of this. And when it comes to the archaeological stuff, Göbekli Tepe, right? You must have come across
Mm-hmm.
that. I mean, that already starts to drill big holes in our timeline of what we could do
doesn't.
when. What's your age on? How do you date? What do you?
Well, it depends on what you date. You can date the rocks. You can use
No. I mean,
thorium.
Göbekli. How old do you believe it to be?
I'm not particularly.
Okay. I think the mainstream says 12,500 years, but I would suggest possibly that it's older than that. Now,
I mean, it could
if
be
it
older
is,
than that.
if it is, no, allow me. if it is, just say it's 10,000 years old, I'm not too worried about exactly how old it is. It is massive, and it is an incredible temple structure that takes craftsmen, it takes machinery, it takes the ability to build on that scale. That's the first part. The second part is that how does it get buried under 50 foot of mud? Now, you have to have had something massive come over that. And I've got around so many English cities, Cambridge, Oxford, Canterbury, this one, where you see so much construction underground. I went into a stately home in Norfolk called Letton Hall, and I was allowed into the basement there. And in the basement of that building, they got windows frames that open into the dirt. So there's just a food for your own thought, because you've obviously got to follow what the books you're given, but food for your own thought is that I believe that we were flooded in the last 500 years, and that flood left behind a sediment or a silting. Well, go and look at what's happened in New Zealand in the last few months. There's been so much flooding there. There are houses that are buried in mud. There is in Norfolk at Letton Hall, the farmer adjacent that land is paid by the government not to rake the ground and not to till it, because underneath it is a Roman village. In Cromer of Norfolk, they're proud of a village that is out at sea. These are things that we see and we go, they don't fit with the narrative, the story that we're told about simple people, stone tools, finding fire, and then taming sheep, which, by the way, taming sheep is quite to have done that is an incredible thing. Taming sheep and so on. I believe all of these things were put here almost like a Garden of Eden, so that we would be able to survive without the need for big daddy government to tell us what to think and what to put in our bodies.
I mean, you can think that, but well, obviously I'm an archaeologist and I'm willing to talk to you about this. Tell any archaeologist, they will be willing to tell you about everything in their research apart from anything that's under NDA.
Why should there be NDA, do you think? Don't we have the right to know everything?
So if there's something that's under NDA, it's normally because it's being kept relatively, like you're not allowed to talk about it just because there's something on the site that metal detectors might want to go and steal. It's not anything
That's
about...
one story. Another story is that it might harpoon, because like I said about these large skeletons, the Smithsonian museums in the 1800s would put a little thing in their local paper. You can go and find this evidence, and they've got a man standing next to a massive skeleton. Now you could say, oh, that's probably a hoax, or you could say, well, when the Smithsonian came and paid them and told them, NDA, you do not talk about this, we're taking this away. That's also possible, that it's a way of curating a story. But think about this like intelligently.
It's not the government that put these NDAs, this is
let
normally
me
a
offer you
commercial
this,
company.
we're not going to agree today, I know that. But in Canterbury...
Also, can I just say...
No, you can't. I'm filming live. So you'll have to walk away if you don't want to be filmed. You'll have to walk away.
Well, I don't give you permission to
Too
put
late.
my face.
Too late. You know I'm filming. I've got a microphone
Well, then
on
I'll have a look at your website and ask you to take it down.
But
with
you
my face.
need to have said that at the beginning of the conversation. No, you can't say it now. You can't say it now.
No is a complete
okay,
sentence.
then walk away. Walk away. Walk away. Go away. You see that? I'm getting a little annoyed with people telling me I can't film them. Anyway, I think we'll oh yeah, guys. Just what can I say? That's just what you get. Properly indoctrinated. So can't be too hard on her. It is what they taught to believe. I think it's time to wrap this up. On that note. Okay guys, I appreciate it.